So I was supposed to do this video months ago, but I'm a pussy, so I didn't do it. And I was considering doing it this weekend when I had off from work, but I was in front of my window and the lighting looked really good, and I was like, now would be the best time to do it because I don't have to pull out the ring light, I don't have to do all the extra bullshit, I can just sit down and do the video. So I'm gonna do the video. You're probably gonna hear a fan because I live on the second story of an apartment building and it's really fucking hot and I'm in front of my window. Not turning off the fan. Sorry if you don't like that, click out now. You're also probably going to hear my 5-year-old come in here and ask me for popcorn for the 5th time today because that's one of the only 4 things that she'll eat, and she's deciding popcorn today. You're also probably going to hear my 1-year-old yell, and you're probably going to hear Blue's Clues in the background. I'm not a bad mom. They're chilling. They're vibing. They've been fed. I'm not neglecting my kids. I just want to make a video really quick. It is what it is. So for those of you who don't know, because I know a lot of people from like real life watch my videos, I was born and raised in Scientology. I kept it a secret for like all through my childhood and most of my teenage years because like I had been told my whole life that people are going to like judge you and they're going to attack you and they're going to suppress you when they find out you're a Scientologist because the world's out to get Scientology.
Well, you weren't too far off there, Trinity. I wouldn't say the world's out to get Scientology, but particularly with channels that have been popping up left and right, SPTV, I would say that they're definitely, at least on people's radar. Hopefully they don't hate them, but they're definitely being exposed. We have a very, very special guest that we're going to talk with today who has a fascinating story. Trinity, would you like to say hello?
Hello. Hi. Thank you. Like, anybody who watched the live with Aaron last night was commenting, and I didn't get to any of the comments. I saw as much as I could. I just want to say thank you for all the support and all of the messages and comments. It means a lot.
That was lovely, by the way, and that's a perfect segue into sharing your channel. So, was that the first time that you actually did a quote unquote interview, even though it was a panel?
Yeah, I mean, I did a short video, I think, interview with somebody from a small podcast called Heart Starts Pounding. She did an interview with me. It wasn't live, and she was supposed to upload it in January. And I don't think she ever did. She never sent it to me, but that was the first time I ever did like an interview with it, or just in general. And it was fun. She was kind of
That was amazing, by the way. That I've watched most of the SPTV. We're talking about Aaron Smith-Levin. She went on last night with a panel that was absolutely amazing. And I'm going to link the video in the description box after this, but I just thought that was lovely. And what a freaking powerful story you have to share. Before we get into it, Trinity, let me show people your channel because you started speaking out. That video was, let's see, let me add this to the stream. So this is Trinity's channel, and the link is in the description box. Please go over and sub if you haven't already. And I notice your subscribers jumped dramatically since being on Aaron's last night.
Oh my God, I know. Thank you also.
Fucking A, man. And you started speaking out right here, right? What we just played, yeah. Scientology, Ask Me Anything. Dude, that was your first video? Sorry that I called you dude. I just do that to all the people.
You're good. I don't care.
That was the first video that I saw, I believe. And it really was powerful, Trinity, because you have family history in this. You know, you were on staff briefly, but what really touched me is just what you've had to go through to have the bravery to extract yourself, especially with so many members still kind of in, which we'll talk about. And hopefully we won't lose track of your family history because she's going to throw out a lot of names and it's quite an in-depth journey. So do you want to just start at the beginning? How did Scientology come into your families and your life? Oh, and by the way, real quick, we do, guys, seem to be experiencing a delay or internet issues a little bit. Like we can hear you okay, Trinity. Okay. It might be on my end. I don't know what the hell's happening, but maybe if you're closer, something that might help a little bit. And I don't have time to figure out things on my end, but I think that's okay. We can definitely hear you and see you okay.
This is it good now?
That's better.
It's been raining off and on too, so that might be why.
How is it, guys? Is it coming out too choppy, or is she? I mean, it's choppy, right? But is she okay? Let us know in the chat if you don't mind. What's up, in Theta? Oh, and also, if
there
you have,
they are. I found the videos or comments.
Yeah. Okay. You can see them.
Oh, I saw them.
We're streaming from both channels. So if you're on Trinity's channel, you'll only see the comments on hers and you'll only see the comments on mine if you're on mine. However, we can see them both. So Trinity, if you see anything that like you want me to star or that, you know, if you pay attention to the chat, I'll star them for later. And then also, guys, please participate. If you have any questions when she's talking, I'll throw them up and she will have the option to take them up. All right, so brace yourself, guys. This is going to be intense. So please, my friend, start at the beginning if you don't mind. How did this cancer known as Scientology come in and fucking intercede itself and all your family members?
Okay, I just want to start. I'm a little nervous, so it might take me a minute to like not be so nervous. But
Totally.
My grandparents got into. I think my grandpa found Dianetics in like 78, 79-ish. It was my mom was a baby or a toddler, and he got hooked, and him and my grandma went all in, and they started raising my mom and her siblings in Scientology. And my grandparents were going up the bridge. My grandfather attested to clear in the 80s.
Wow.
And I think my grandparents, they were in the Sea Org briefly too. They ended up getting out. And my mom and her older brother both have like a history on staff. My uncle was in the Sea Org briefly too. My mom, so they were raised in it from that point on. And then when me and my siblings and my uncle started having kids, they were raised in as well, like as Scientologists. My mom moved from California because they started in California, and then my grandparents and my uncle relocated to Memphis, Tennessee. And when my mom was like 19, maybe right before she turned 20, she left California and went to Tennessee with them. And she started getting on lines at the Memphis mission there. And then she was doing like volunteer staff. And then she had signed, like she was on and off staff, like up until I was 11 years old. And I used to play around the mission a lot. And that was like my home away from home because we were there all the time. And then my mom had like my little brothers. And we were just, all of us were there. My older brother, whenever he would get in trouble, would be like, he would have to like volunteer as a staff member. When we would get in trouble, we would have to like fold promo and do like we were supposed to go hand promo out when we would get in trouble, but we would end up like throwing it away in dumpsters behind convenience stores because we were embarrassed to like hand it out because it was like we were pushing like religion. It was weird. But that's what we did. Like my whole childhood, I used to play in the Memphis mission. I got taken out of school in elementary school because I wasn't progressing. And I did a program. I don't know if all the churches did it, but the Memphis mission had a leap room program where they used like Scientology study tech to teach people how to read. And it did help me like to read and stuff. We did like phonics and stuff. And they would have other kids that needed like tutoring that weren't even Scientologists like come do it too. So it was fun. But then at some point, people quit coming. I don't really remember when that point was. And then it just eventually went from like a mission to a little Dianetic center in Germantown, like a little tiny office building. And then shortly after that is when we quit going to, we got off lines. We, like the family as a whole, were still like in calm with, people trying to sell us like the basics and stuff. I remember when the basics actually came out, we were still in the mission, like the new basics. And I remember having to help them take all of the old basics and lectures down, box them up, and decorate all the new basics, like all over the lobby. And our house, we had, like, my mom still has a couple of the original, like, basic books too. I don't know if they're original, because I think there was a time before that time that they redid the basics too. Am I correct?
I'm trying to remember that. Did they do it twice or once? Because I got out right when they were, what she's talking about is David Miscavige and redid all the books and said the copywriters missed a comma here or a little, it was a total, they're super freaking standard tech. Everything they say has to be spot on and exactly like Hubbard. So what she's talking about is there was I don't remember when it was, Trinity. You don't remember what year that was? Do you remember what year we're talking about?
I really don't remember. It was probably between, if I had to guess, because I was born in 97. So oh man, maybe between like 2004 to 2008 ish, maybe a little before. But
That sounds
I
right.
don't remember how old I was, but I just remember boxing up all the old shit and getting the new shit in. And then our
Okay.
house being like flooded with all of the new books and lectures. And we had like, they sold like, because we all like off and on throughout my whole childhood, we all would like my uncle, his wife, his 4 kids, my mom, her ex-husband, my like us 5, I have 4 brothers, and my
Mhm.
grandparents would all live and like together. We would all just like wind up living together, and it was like every adult had their own basics package. It felt like.
And did you have to get a bunch of packages to then also sell to relatives, or
I
remember how you
think
had to
so.
buy a million of them even though you don't
I
need them?
think because my mom's little sister, my aunt, she's not she was raised a Scientologist, and she like saw, I guess she would claim herself as a Scientologist, and she always like was kind of on and off on lines too,
Mhm.
but she wasn't in it like the rest of them were. And I think they may have regged her to buy the new basics
Yes.
too, because I mean, went to her house a couple years ago, and she like in her basement still had like some of the basics downstairs, because she doesn't hate Scientology, she really doesn't.
Mhm.
She's not, she likes the information. That's
Yeah,
kind of where she's at. She likes the book, she likes the information, and that's kind of
I
where
know.
she's at with it. She doesn't hate Scientology or anything like that. And she might be watching, so if you are, hi.
Interesting, and I know plenty of people like that. And so that regards that, how did you guys go from not being around Scientology as much? Did you do anything at 11 years old that got you in trouble, or that made you quote unquote indie Scientologist, so to speak? Why did you back away initially as a family, but still
So
remain Scientologists?
I don't 100% know what happened with my grandparents, my uncle and his wife. My uncle's wife wasn't a Scientologist. He got her into Scientology when they got together too.
I
But
see.
so my mom had been like on and off staff my whole life, and then we would all like, she would bring me and my little brothers and my older brother to the mission with her, and to
Mhm.
flea markets and stuff to sell Dianetics and do like she had the meter sat up,
Yeah.
and she would have people like test the cans. It was
Did you have to
actually
do
kind of
any of
fun.
that? Did you have to
I
hang
went with
out and
her. I went
really?
with
What were
her,
you
and then
thinking when you
sometimes
saw her doing this strange shit? Was
I
it
thought
weird
it
to
was
you?
cool. It was normal.
You didn't know
If I'm
anything
being
about it.
completely honest. No, I thought it was normal because, like, I mean, we were raised like we're Scientologists and be
Exactly.
quiet when somebody gets hurt. Like, it wasn't abnormal. I thought it was neat, actually.
I hear you.
Excuse me. And I had a lot of fun going to like the flea markets and stuff with her. But
Yeah.
sometimes they would like, because my grandparents would help her too. I'd walk around the flea market with a Dianetics book, just like, does anyone want to buy this? Does anyone want to buy this? Because I think one time she told me if I sold a Dianetics book, she would buy me a rabbit, because some guys were selling
That's
rabbits.
funny.
So I like for 3 hours was trying so hard to like get my cute on and be like, can you buy this book so my mom will buy me a rabbit? And nobody would buy the book.
Nobody freaking bought it from a young,
No,
cute
and
child.
I think it was my mom or my grandma. One of them felt bad for me and they bought me the rabbit anyway.
That's
But
so
nobody would
funny.
buy the fucking book from me.
Did you ever understand why? Were people like off put by it? Did they ever say, "Hey, get out! You're in a cult"? Did you ever get any clue like pimping
No,
that book
nobody
out?
was ever mean to me about it. I mean, I
Really?
wasn't, when I was around like my family and we were doing stuff like that, like obviously I was associated with Well, I mean, it was Dianetics. So a lot of people,
They
it
didn't
wasn't
know.
until recently they would associate Dianetics and Scientology together. So it was just like a mental health thing, And that's like
Exactly.
whenever I was on staff, that's what I would write to Dianetics customers, and then I would write to Scientology. I say customers, but new public is what they're technically called.
Raw meat is what they're technically called.
Yeah. But nobody was ever mean to me about it. My childhood friend's mom bought a Dianetics book from my mom, and the only negative thing I remember is I was at their house, and I don't remember why it came up, and I think I was in like 4th grade, and she said, I tried to read that book your mom gave me, or I bought from your mom, but it said something about God not being real, so I threw it away.
Oh.
And that's not right. It shouldn't say that. And I've never fucking read Dianetics, so I have no idea what's in there. I've tried to read Dianetics like off and on throughout my life whenever I felt like I needed some like guidance or something, or I needed to get my shit together. And it was like, because I had always been like under the impression that it was gonna be like mind blowing and it was gonna change my life and it was gonna make me just be better.
Because your parents built it up, right?
Yeah,
They built it up in your head as a kid.
yeah. So whenever I was
Exactly.
like a little kid, like I think the first time I tried to read it, I was like 12. And I tried like a couple of times when I was a teenager doing like typical teenage hood rat shit. And I was like, you're in fucking trouble. And I would try and I couldn't even get through, what is it, the synopsis, like the first fucking before the paragraph, like, or chapter. I couldn't. And then I was always raised like, if you can't go past words you don't understand, and if you feel tired or you get a headache, it's because you have a misunderstanding. Dude, like the second sentence in, I didn't know what the fuck I was reading. And I'm sitting there with a dictionary trying to look up all these words and look up all these different definitions for the word the, because I'm like, oh my God, maybe I don't know what the means. And I would give up. It was such a headache.
You are bringing back so many memories, because that's exactly what happened to me. My dad was an OT when I was like young, so I thought he could read my mind, Trinity. And I just, like you said, that's what we grow up, overts and withholds and all these things. That's just totally normal. So I became a teenager. I hated Scientology because I knew something was wrong with it. And I was rebellious like you, typical teenage rebellion shit. I'm not ready to get my ethics in. I'm bad, right? And I remember reading Dianetics as a teenager because my dad was into it, and I, like you, I couldn't get past the first. It's so complex, the words and everything. And then also, do you remember like the very first? But it also electrified me. And I thought, well, that's just me because I'm dumb. I'm 15, 14 or whatever. I don't have the vocabulary yet. But I believe kind of in the state of clear. You know why, Trinity? Because this is what I've thought since I got out. Why in the hell are they going to sell it at Walden Books? Why are they going to have fucking commercials on it? I saw commercials running as a kid, with the freaking volcano ad. Yeah. So why, if it was what it really turned out to be, a criminal mafia, like huge scam, like really dangerous organization, why would I be able to pick up Dianetics in Walden Books? Why would Tom Cruise be in it? Why are there organizations all over the world? It never even crossed my mind that it would turn out to be what it actually was.
Yeah.
Because you're not going to think a criminal organization would be policed by authorities where they wouldn't even get out there. So not only did I not believe in it, I figured it's above my pay grade. It's too much in my head. And I had the same reaction reading Dianetics. But remember the very beginning? I was also electrified. I'm like, one day I'll get this. I don't remember
anything.
He freaking says, Trinity, he says, like right at the very beginning, he says, this is more important than the discovery of fire, the will, and man. Like, remember how always L. Ron Hubbard makes bold claims about, and he cuts all the other philosophers down, and then he says, now Scientology can do what the Buddha's never done. They tried to get to the state of clear, but we can really do what the Buddha was trying to do. Remember, he's always pontificating and bragging.
Yeah.
That had an effect on me too.
I noticed that when I was doing it was either Problems of Work course. What course was it where it's like an introductory course where they first start introducing overts and withholds? Is it like
overcoming ups and downs,
values and integrity?
There you go.
Maybe that one. One of those.
It's both of those, I think.
Okay, so I had to do those when I first joined staff. I think I was 21. And I remember, like, I liked Problems of Work. It was fine. I did The Way to Happiness when I was a kid, and it was fun. Like, I liked them. They were fun. But I remember doing this damn course and, like, reading it and just remember sitting there thinking, like, damn, this dude's fucking full of himself. Like,
did you have that thought initially? Because I just thought he really knew what he was talking about.
Yeah, I mean, I've always, like, in the back of my head thought, like, this... he thinks he like created like life itself, like not like, I didn't really think like nasty, like asshole thoughts about him, but I would just remember sitting there like with my eyebrows raised, like, okay, dude, like you were fun at parties. Like, I don't, I'm just like I just figured I got like from it. I'm like, you're kind of an asshole because you probably think you're better than everybody from it. But I mean, in my head too, because like my grandpa was like the greatest person I knew in my entire life. And he also had that very like arrogant, very confident, really good way to get you to agree with him. No, even if you don't agree with him, just this aurora about him. And he's a fucking asshole, but he reminded me of how Ron talked. And he was like the apple of my eye my entire life. So I'm like, okay, well, yeah, he's probably a dick, but my grandpa's a dick and my grandpa's amazing. So he was probably awesome. That's kind of like how I chalked it up to be.
I'm not saying that your grandpa's a psychopath because I don't know him, but let's take L. Ron Hubbard and other people. I think psychopaths can often be very charismatic and put on a confident front that can be mistaken. Like their narcissism can be hidden. To me, L. Ron Hubbard had an impressive effect. I was like, because it was so bold and bald-faced, Trinity, who the fuck is going to say the kind of things that he said? He was so bold about it so confident that this has never been achieved. And it was a science. You could get to the state of clear and remove all your trauma scientifically. You didn't have to believe in
Yeah.
Jesus. You didn't have to believe some bullshit. The word
Yeah.
Scientology has science in it. So I
Exactly.
was impressed by. That's interesting that you say that, though. I didn't pick up on his narcissism. I was just like, wow, this guy knows what he's talking about.
Yeah, I mean, again, that's how I felt too. Like he knows his shit. He's probably
Right.
was an asshole, but again, the way he spoke and his like literally the way I would overhear my grandpa listening to the lectures a lot. That it reminded me fully of my grandfather, and I thought my grandpa's awesome. I love my grandpa. I still think he's a badass. And
Is he still in
he does-
Scientology, Trinity?
Yeah, he's gonna be in it till he's dead.
We'll
Yeah.
get to him too, but is he an indie or a fully in, still going to the org?
He's on lines at Tampa org.
Really?
He was doing the SRD with my mom. They were twins up until the point that I blew, and then the ethics officer was like, "Oh, well, you can't do your SRD if you're still connected to Trinity until she comes back and handles this." And my mom said, "Okay, well, I guess I'm not doing my SRD." Like I don't.
Good for you.
And she hasn't been back since.
And that's a good place to pick it up, because isn't that kind of the moment when you went from, being Scientologist to kind of pulling away a little and still believing and practicing and reading the books and all that shit, but you weren't going down as much, right?
No, that was after I had blown. Like when that happened and my mom did that, I didn't start like questioning things until I didn't start like hardcore questioning things until like February or March of 2019. Because a whole bunch of weird shit happened with like the money and then the staff getting paid and them having to like cut people checks and like a lot, it just like the vibes were off, like super off. And then whenever people would be stressed, because like staff members at the time, because like I told you, they were doing like bullshit loan things, staff members were getting paid a pretty penny, and you got paid per like units per your post. And then if you were upstat, you got a little upstat bonus. So like we worked, my husband was a CF files clerk or CF clerk.
Central
and I
files.
Was sorry. And
no,
then
that's okay.
I was
we have a word clearing. I see. We have somebody that usually clears words, so don't worry about it in the chat.
Sweet. And then I was the new public letter registrar. And I don't want to act like they're not important jobs in the org, because they are. Like, I feel like every job in an organization is important to get it to where it is. But we were kind of like the low men on the totem pole, like that department is. It was kind of like in my head also too, I want to say, everybody at the org, most of the people were like so beautiful and so like, oh my God, hi. And like had this like uppity, like in crowd kind of feel to them. The people that worked in CF were kind of like, I don't want to say creatures, but you could tell they were like kind of the let's stick them down in CF
in the dungeon, because they don't.
My husband, I didn't have many tattoos. I had like a handful that were like covered by my uniform. My husband was covered in tattoos when he started. He had like long hair, beard, ears stretched. And then there were just like other people, like a lot of the older people that couldn't do a whole lot were down there like writing letters and just like helping out in CF or Central Files and stuff.
Was your husband down there, Trinity?
Yeah, he was with me.
Because the tats and the long hair and shit.
Yeah, I don't think that's why they put him there. I don't want to, I'm speculating like now that I'm out, but I remember like also being in there and being like, damn, a whole bunch of the like super pretty, like uppity people are like upstairs like selling the shit, and we're just kind of like down here. And I also had a mohawk when I first started, now that I remember.
Oh, awesome. They didn't call you out on that or have a problem?
They asked me to grow it out. The ED at some point, I don't remember exactly what she had said. I really loved the ED. I thought she was amazing, and I still I have love for her. I thought she was a sweetheart, but I don't remember exactly what she said. But some conversation we had when I first started was about like professionalism and like aesthetics and stuff like that. And they didn't say anything about the hair or the tattoos, but I kind of took it as on like, okay, well, we're like presenting the church now. So let me grow out my hair. Let me throw on makeup. Let me straighten my hair and like look professional, like a businesswoman. And my husband went and got like his hair cut. He looked lovely, but he got like a short haircut. His hair was like, he looked like freaking John Lennon. And it was like, cause he has like glasses and stuff. So it was like down almost to his butt, and he got it all cut. And he like a nice haircut. You like the nicer, you didn't like the long hair? as I've gotten older, I mean, I used to really like long hair. He wants to grow it out. I think long hair is pretty, but like as I've gotten older, I also kind of like the more like
Matured.
slick back,
I
like
understand. I
little
understand.
fade, you know what I'm saying?
Gentlemanly,
Yeah,
as opposed to rock
yeah.
star.
Yeah.
So Trinity, at 11-ish, you kind of back away from, you know, being a hardcore Scientologist. How and what age were you? Did you then go to being on staff? Like, how did you guys get
Okay.
sucked back in there? And take your time on the whole, you know, we're not in any hurry. You can lead
So
up to that.
again, my mom got off staff when I was like 11 or 12, and then we were like still in comm with people from like Source and from like honestly like Sea Org members trying to sell us stuff and trying to get us on the website to do like online courses because we weren't anywhere near, because I think the Dianetics Center in Germantown closed, or it might still be open. I don't know. We weren't going there. We had a fallout. So they were the closest church to us was the Nashville Ideal Org, which I went to the opening to. It's a beautiful building, might I say.
They always
But
have beautiful
that
buildings.
was like 3.5, 4 hours away from where we were. So we weren't gonna do that. We lived in the middle of fucking nowhere, Mississippi. Like, I don't know if anybody's heard of Marshall County, but that's where the hell we were.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, like we were in the fucking sticks, dude. And so we were like on lines, I guess, and my grandpa would like listen to his lectures. Everybody was doing like courses at home, and we would have to do like, you know, we would get into trouble, like ethics conditions. We'd have to put ourselves in a condition, and we would have to like move up in the conditions. And my grandpa was like the in charge of it. We would have to turn it into him, and he would be able to let us know if like we can go up the conditions and stuff, because he was the most like, because he had attested to clear in the 80s, so he was like in that shit, you know. And he was also like an ex-Sea Org member.
He wasn't
Again,
a past life clear, was he? Trinity, did he actually go up the grades, or did he attest past life?
I don't know. You know, believe it or not, me and my grandpa didn't have many conversations that about Scientology, so I don't really know. Hang on, give me 1 sec. My daughter texted me.
Sure. Whatever you need to do, by the way.
Can you give me just a second so I can go
Absolutely.
check on them?
I'll chat with the people here.
All right.
What's up, in Theta? Me and Marcus are going to do on Friday, our Backflash Fridays, with how Tom Cruise, a deep dive kind of. Got some interesting videos and some slides to show you about a deep dive we're going to do on John Travolta and Tom Cruise and how they actually got recruited into Scientology. Because nobody joins a cult you're kind of predated on, or somebody brings you in. It's not like, because people always go, I'd never join a cult. Yeah, well, neither did I. I didn't think I was joining a cult. As Trinity talked about, and why I can relate to her story, is this is what we freaking grew up around. So if you grew up in a Christian family and you have a Bible thumping, you know, mother or whatever, that's probably going to be your reality, and you wouldn't question it, no matter what religion or belief system. That's kind of how you grow up, right? So the point being is that nobody knows it's a cult that they're joining. They get slowly let in. And the analogy is boiling a frog in water. The water's cold. You throw the frickin' frog in there and you turn the heat up slowly, or as they call it in Scientology, the gradient of brainwashing. So we're going to talk about how Tom Cruise was hornswoggled, as well as John Travolta. And we'll probably bounce off some other people with the little celebrity clique that we ram with, and how they particularly target artists, and how they can have a whole program and a plan to actually get celebrities in. So that will be on Friday with Marcus.
Okay, I'm back. Hi. Sorry.
Hey. There's no Oregon, Oklahoma, but the original Narconon is pretty close to where I live, within 45 minutes away. You know, oh, hail, Narconon's a whole nother thing that I was just talking with an ex the other day. What an insidious thing that is. I don't know how they get away with that. This is their fake pseudo drug rehabilitation program where, you know, they get pure Scientology, and there's been many deaths and suicides, not to mention the liver damage from the overdose of vitamins. And then yet it still exists. There's one 45 minutes away from you. That's just absolutely sick. Sorry to get off on a tangent, but the lovely Trinity is back. So where were we?
Hello. I forgot what we were talking about.
So you 11 years old, then we're leading up to how you got on staff, but however you want to get there. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So again, we were doing like ethics conditions. Like I remember whenever I would like get caught smoking weed as a teenager, I'd get put in lowers. I remember one time, I think I got threatened to be put in the Sea Org, or like not threatened, but they were like, Yeah, something like that. I'm not 100%, but it was like
For being a bad child,
yeah,
rebellious
like have a
teenager.
purpose. And I didn't
Exactly.
know then that being in the Sea Org meant it was like your rest of your fucking life. And you were signing your whole soul away. I thought it was like dedicated staff members, or maybe it was like they were going to send me to go be on staff somewhere, and they were going to like, because when you come from out of state or wherever by yourself to join staff, they give you some bullshit accommodations and they put you to fucking work and give you, at the time, like little pennies to live off of. And I
And they
almost did
promise
it
you
one
the
time.
world. They promise you the world beforehand.
Yeah.
You almost did it?
Yeah, so when I was 17, I was dating a guy at the time that my family, a wonderful person. They were tripping, but he smoked weed and he sold weed on the side. And I was like with them, and they like thought he was like a piece of shit. Well, my mom didn't, but like the rest of my family did. So I like blew from my family and I went and pulled like anarchy and was like doing my own thing and kind of homeless, couch surfing for a few months. And then whenever I came back and was trying to get like that, I went to my brother's house and I was like, man, I need to get my shit together. And I called the Orlando org and I was telling them, I'm like, hey, I'm kind of like in some shit right now. I'm trying to get my shit straight. Can I come like be on staff? Can you like give me accommodations to work? And they were like asking me if I was like in legal trouble and stuff, which I wasn't. I didn't end up doing it. And they quit calling me after a few months because I quit answering the phone because some other stuff happened. But anyways, that's kind of like how it went up until I was 2021. When my uncle was in the Sea Org as a teenager, he had made really, really good friends with this girl. And they lost contact after he got out of the Sea Org and he moved to Memphis. And she got out of the Sea Org too. Well, when I was 2021, so like 2017, 2018-ish, maybe like the mid to late 2018, she found him on Facebook and added him and told him, hey, I just went clear at Tampa. And they like caught up and she was telling him like gassing up like the Tampa org and was like, you should come check it out. Like, and they were like catching up because they were like really good friends. They're still really good friends. And so him and my aunt started going to Tampa and checking out Tampa. And then my mom and my stepdad started going to check out Tampa because my mom knew her too briefly. And then it just kind of turned into, next thing I knew, my uncle was moving his whole family to Tampa from Jacksonville. Because at some point, I moved to Jacksonville when I was 15, and then my grandparents divorced a few years later, and my grandpa, and my uncle's family moved to Jacksonville too to be with family. My grandma went to Virginia with my aunt and stuff. But so his whole family was there, and then he was moving his whole family to Tampa. Like when his daughter first started high school, my little brothers were starting high school, and they were going to the same high school I was. I was like, oh my God, this is going to be perfect. And then they moved him to fucking Tampa. And they got to Tampa, and like barely a month in, my fucking cousin drops out of high school because she hates the high school there. Because in Jacksonville, she was in band. She had a bunch of friends. She had like a love interest. She was with me. Me and her were really close. And she was really close to my daughter and my older brother's daughter. So they moved there and she drops out of high school. And then eventually my older brother tells me, well, I'm going to move to Tampa to be closer to uncle. You come or you don't. And at the time, because again, we had all lived together my whole life, even though me and my husband had really good jobs and we could have lived we could have made it on our own, I was so convinced that I wouldn't be okay step that far away from my family, because my mom also was insinuating that eventually her, my stepdad, and my little brothers were going to move there too. Mm-hmm. So I was like, well, I can't be here alone. I can't be without my family. So
and all this is to be closer to the church, right? Because he went clear and he's trying to be more dedicated. So you had a life, she had friends and everything, and then it all got uprooted. And this happens to so many
she hated
Scientology
the high school
families
that their house was like zoned for, and they had no way to get her to another school. It was a really shitty high school.
That they moved to, right, in Tampa when the uncle uprooted everybody?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So in her defense, it was a really shitty high school. So I honestly don't blame her. It wasn't a good high school, but yeah, I mean, also just to like preference, education isn't like a huge priority to Scientologists, like traditional education. Cause like my older brother, all of my family are dropouts. My uncle's wife graduated high school and then has a college degree. I'm the only person in my family, like immediate family, that graduated high school and actually walked. My aunt, who's not really in Scientology, all 6 of her kids all graduated and walked, which is awesome. Like all of her fucking kids did.
Because they didn't have Scientology fucking interfering every 5
my
seconds.
aunt, because she was forced to drop out when she was a teenager. Because my grandparents did this thing where when their kids turned like 9, 10 years old, they were kind of like, all right, fend for yourselves. Like, we're kind of done raising kids. And again, grandma, if you're watching it, I love you. But like it is what it fucking is. You know?
Yeah,
so
I understand.
She, my uncle and my mom dropped out in like middle school. I think my aunt had to drop out in like 9th grade because she didn't have any backup to get to school. And they lived on like a desert ranch or something. And my grandparents like left her there with some relatives. It was a weird thing. But so she decided when she started having kids that like full stop, my kids are graduating high school. The bare minimum that they're going to do is stay in school, and they are all getting an education.
Good for her.
So all she has 4 biologically, and then her and my uncle. My uncle had 2 from a previous marriage. So all 6 of their children are high school graduates. Walked all of that. So also like my cousin that dropped out, she went and got her GED, and 2 of my little brothers got their GED. So it's considered they actually got their diplomas too, like later on. So I'm not saying that all of them are dropped, and I don't think nothing's wrong with the dropout. I'm just like to like kind of make you understand, like out of a whole family and all the people in Scientology, that's 4 of us. 4
so far.
4 out of, we have a massive fucking family. Massive.
Trinity, did you ever get any shit from the other relatives in the family that were worried about you guys being Scientologists, but they didn't want to say anything to you, or they did not know about it? Did you ever have any challenge from any other members to you 4? Never?
No.
Do you think they knew and they just wanted to keep their mouth shut?
Like knew
that you were Scientologists, you know? You said that only four of you were in Scientology, right? And then extended family members were not Scientologists?
No, like the immediate family, like, so my grandparents, my mom, her ex-husband, all 5 of us kids, my uncle, his wife, and their 4 kids, like all of us were Scientologists. And out of all of those people, 4 of us graduated high school.
I got it. Okay. I told you guys there's a lot of names to keep. I thought there was more than 4.
I'm trying not to say like names and stuff because I don't know how like people feel. So I'm trying to like, I have a really big family. So if I need to slow down, just let me know.
No, you're doing great. It's amazing that you have so much freaking family that were into Scientology. How many is that? What's the number?
God damn.
Somewhere like 10, 13 or something, outrageous
so
number.
Whenever we first started going to Tampa, they took like a group photo of all of us because they thought it was amazing that all of us were there. So it was like my grandma, grandpa. No, scratch that. My grandma was already divorced from my grandpa. So my grandpa, when she divorced my grandpa is when she started kind of backing away from Scientology too and started watching the aftermath and stuff. She told me she was watching the aftermath, and I was like, Grandma, you can't watch that. And you need to tell me, like, quit telling me you're watching it.
So funny.
Anyways, so my grandpa, my uncle, his wife, their 4 kids. I'm not
4 of their freaking kids.
4 of their kids. My mom's ex-husband, when they divorced, he didn't really like, he identified as a Scientologist, like kind of, not so much. Like he's not anymore. He doesn't fuck with Scientology anymore. Good. So my mom, her 5 kids, and then my stepdad always, he was raised Catholic, like super Catholic. So he was like, he told my mom, you do you, but don't try to get me in that shit because I'm not giving them my money. And he wouldn't, like a couple of times he was trying to like get her to be like, it's a fucking, like without saying it, like being real harsh about it. And she was just kind of like, you can't do that. Like, I don't come at you for being Catholic. Don't do that to me about Scientology.
Wow.
So he kind of backed off and he was like, okay, like, all right, do you. And I remember after I blew, the ethics officer called my mom and was insinuating, like she was on speaker. And my mom was with my stepdad. And she was insinuating that she was going to have to disconnect from me or not like talk to me, my husband, and my daughter. And when they got off, like in the middle of her saying that, my stepdad looked at my mom and he's like, I'm not cutting off Cheyenne. I'm not doing it. And he was like looking at her like, bitch, you better not either. Cause that'll be like the end of our marriage. And my mom it was never even crossed her mind to cut off any of her kids. I'm
surprised at the church. You know, they put a lot of pressure on her, Trinity, because he was probably seen as a suppressive.
And I just want to say my stepdad is a very successful business owner. He owns a tattoo shop in Mississippi, and he co-owns the one here in Jacksonville with my mom and my brother. And it was his. He just kind of like is letting them do their thing with it. He's a very successful man. And he does have his own wealth. So they knew that. But he didn't contribute. My mom worked. She worked at like Waffle House. She hustled and had her own money because he said, I don't want any of like our, like, I'm not trying to go in debt for this. So my mom hustled and she like got credit cards and did her thing. And he supported her. He's just like, I'm not giving you guys like my money. You know what I mean? But they would also like try when I was on staff trying to get me, like, it wasn't directly said, but it was implied, like, we know he has the funds to do it. So he would like, they'd tug at my heartstrings, like, if he did the offer to be his twin on the communications course, it would help his communication. And they also created like strain on my mom's marriage. And like my mom and my dad, like I call him my dad, they have a great fucking relationship. They have their problems like everybody, but like it was so strained when she was like on lines and going back and forth from Jacksonville to Tampa because he was letting her do her thing, but he knew what was happening. He knew it was
Do you know how bad it was, Trinity? Did you know it was a cult and that she was in any kind of quote unquote danger?
He knew. He would talk to people about it. Wow. He would look it up. He all knew because they first got together. She told him I'm a Scientologist and we had the stuff, but she wasn't like on lines, like active in Scientology. And then next thing he knew, all of his stepkids that he had been raising for the last, I don't even know how long they've been together. They got together when I was like 12 or 13. All of his kids got into it, his grandkids, my niece and my daughter and his wife, and we all moved there. And my mom, with my two youngest brothers, she would go to Waffle House when she was on the pier of, because she, again, hustled. My mama works, would go to fucking Waffle House, clock in at like 5 or 6 in the morning, work until 2, go pick up my younger brothers, and then straight to Tampa and got on the pier of, would get out of the pier of at 10 o'clock at night, drive back, go to work and repeat.
Wow.
And then the days that she had off, she would stay on my uncle's fucking couch in his living room to do it.
Wow. Yeah,
and my
that's
mom
a sacrifice.
She did it. She did it with my aunt, my uncle, and my grandpa, and my 2 of my cousins.
Wow.
Yeah. Like my mom was in that shit. And obviously, like she was happy. I think my mom was so happy when she was doing it because she has had a strained relationship with her parents for different reasons. And she was twinning with her dad, my grandpa. So she started feeling like as they were twinning in the Pura, twinning on the SRD and everything.
Bonding, man.
Yeah. And she was like, oh my God, like I'm having a relationship with my dad. And he's like proud of me, you know? And it's fucked up. And now obviously they don't have shit. They still talk to her, but they look down on my mom a lot. And it drives me crazy because since my mom quit going, because she was struggling for money the whole fucking time we were there, she quit going when I left. I was a debt collector briefly, so I learned how to clean up debt, and I helped my mom clean up her debt. This was like 4-ish years ago. I left in December of 2019, and she was renting a house that she hated, barely had a car. My mom and my stepdad now own a massive house. It is theirs. They own it. Their businesses are booming. They've employed 3 of my brothers and a couple of their spouses. And my mom has everything in the world that she's ever wanted.
That's fucking fantastic, Trinity.
And like she's ruining her life. But my mom is doing fucking amazing.
Of course they would, especially the fact that she was actually there for you and saved you. Oh, you need me to do the survival rundown or, disconnect from my daughter and the family? Fuck you. That's a very bold move, by the way, because, my parents walked that line and would not ever have the moxie to do what your mom did. So amen to her, man, for seeing the real greater good.
She's a writer for real. Love my mom.
I know you do, man.
Yeah, she started having kids as a young teenager. And I mean, she was married at one point. It wasn't the best marriage. And like my stepdad was there, but for real, like my mom held that shit down and she did it pretty much by herself. Like she's solid. She has a great relationship with all 5 of her kids, all 5 and their spouses, and all of her like 8 or 9 grandkids. I lost count.
And that's one hell of a success story coming from starting in Scientology and getting as enmeshed as she did. How did you, so you were on staff, right? Do you want to tell us a little bit about that, Trinity? I mean, first of all, do you want to explain how the fuck you got paid $400 or $800, which is about 1,000 times more than a staff member normally makes? If you had to average it, about $50 a week, sometimes even less, sometimes a little more.
Yeah.
But for some reason, you guys made way more than that, and thought that it was like not bad, right?
It wasn't bad. This was like in 20, it was like, so I'm sorry, whenever we first started getting back online, it was 2017, and I like joined staff in 2018, so I got the years mixed up.
And
But
this Trinity, sorry to interrupt, but real quick,
yeah.
this is right after the uncle moves the whole family to Tampa to be by the
Yeah.
org, and that's how you got sucked onto the freaking staff.
Yep, because my older brother followed, and
Mhm.
I used to be I couldn't live without my brothers. I
feel
couldn't
you.
live without being with my family, because we used to be a very close-knit family. Like, I obviously, like, growing up, now I'm looking back, I realize that shit wasn't so sweet. And a
Mhm.
lot of people in my family aren't really the nicest, but like we really did, like we had so many, and there were so many kids, like we were super close. So I needed my fucking family. My mama said that she was gonna move there too, and I'm like, I need my mommy. Like, I have a
Oh,
baby.
you had
Like,
no
I mean,
choice. You had no
I'm
choice.
not. I had, and then me and my older brother too. Like, me and my older brother are like best friends, and we've always, like, literally up until I was 24. How old was I? 23 was the first time in my entire life that I did not live with him, because he moved out, and then not even a year after he moved out, I moved in with him and started dating my husband, who was his best friend. And then we lived with him all through Tampa. So it was like, and then the brief time that whenever I left Tampa, we went to my older brother's house and lived with him until we got on our feet. You see what I'm saying? Like, so I
do.
needed my big brother, you know? And
Oh, I
like,
totally
I
understand.
love like his children, like my niece and nephew. Like, I couldn't live without them. You know what I mean? So that, like, when my uncle moved his whole family there, so we followed shortly after, and then I got reg to do the Piruf, and I did the Piruf with one of my little brothers and my husband. And there was a couple of other people in there too. I met some really cool people in the Piruf, actually. And then as soon, like the day that I got out, they started recruiting me for staff. And it was always under my impression that staff members didn't make shit, that they would help like with accommodations, but they didn't make money like that. So when they were recruiting me, I was like, look, I have to make a livable wage, and I have to have childcare. And they did some math, showed I do not understand how the pay was done, how we got paid based on what I just knew. You got like up stat bonuses, and it was paid on units, and you got so many units based on your post. The better the post, like the higher the post is on the org board, the more units kind of shit. So the dude like did some math really quick, and he was like, showed me his phone. He was like, yeah, each staff member is averaging $400 to $600 right now. And then they said, we have a nanny. And the nanny there was actually, I did not like her at all. And I hated leaving my daughter with her, but I was like, oh, well, you have to get on the cans whenever you join staff, and you have to do like all that security stuff. Like,
And
you
a
don't
whole
do a
family
sec check.
history, right?
Yes,
You get to fill out, and
So
it's super detailed about sexual
yeah,
activities and
so you don't do
everything.
a sec check when you get on staff, but you have to fill out like hundreds of questions about like personal, like family history.
Yeah.
Have you committed any crimes? What drugs have you done? Talks about like your sex life and like all kinds of shit.
Yeah.
And they put you on the cans, and the ethics officer like asks you a bunch of questions, and something reads, they like handle it. So I'm like, in my head, I'm like, if there was anything weird, they handled it when she joined staff. But my kid screamed the entire time she was with her, and she wouldn't like touch my kid. She like looked, she was like this vegan, and again, nothing against vegans, but she used to like we're not vegan, and she would like look down at, she had like her daughter, and she raises her daughter where they're always together no matter what. Like, that's it. No matter what, they do everything together. Her daughter doesn't leave her side. Do you? That's great. But she, like, the way she would like look at my daughter and like I could feel she didn't want to like fuck with my kid, and it like pissed me off. But anyway, so that was how they got me, and they got my husband too, because he was like a dishwasher at this restaurant called Village Inn.
Did they get him? Was he into it, Trinity? Were you passing on the tech to him? Was that? Did you keep it secret? He got into
what sold him is when we still lived in Jacksonville. We were down. He was like working a job that wasn't paying the best, and he went to the Dianetic seminar and twinned with my brother, and he had applied for Walmart before we went, and for months he was waiting. Yeah, he was waiting on the fucking phone call to get an interview at Walmart. Walmart's a really hard job to get. I don't know why, but it's like, it's hard to get somebody to like get you in for an interview. It really is. And when they were on break from the Dianetic seminar, he got the phone call to set up an interview. So he associated that with winning and with like pause, like, you know what I mean? Like,
I know exactly what you mean. That's exactly what my thought. They teach us to think that.
Yeah, and he didn't want to move to Tampa. Like, he was on board with Scientology, but he didn't want to move to Tampa. But he was like, he's even told me, because we would like get in fights, and so at the time our relationship was a little rocky, and we would get in fights and shit, and he's like, and now I have to move to fucking Tampa because you're gonna follow your family, and you're gonna take our daughter, and I'm gonna follow you guys, and I don't even want to move to fucking Tampa. It's 3 hours longer away from my family. And then he was a dishwasher at this Village Inn restaurant, and then when I told him about the pay, and I think after I got like my first paycheck, he was like, okay, like we'll do it. And we have childcare, like free childcare. Fuck yeah. And we were on foundation. It was like 6:30 to 10 on weeknights, 9 to 6 on the weekends. No, like fine. That's cool. We didn't know when I signed the fucking contract, I did not know you were expected to do 12 hours a week on top of that. Personal enlightenment, studying, is that what it is?
Yep.
I didn't know that. So after like a couple months, they were like, why haven't you been studying? And I'm like, what do you mean? I'm fucking here 7 days a week and I have a kid, and I have like, my sister-in-law was super pregnant with my nephew, and I had like my niece and stuff. I'm like, what do you mean? Like, what do you want me to do, dude? So I would like study at home. I would like open a fucking book.
Oh no, you had
and
homework.
like I would write. I would tell them I studied, and I would like skip through the pages. No, I mean, whenever I needed to do staff status 1 and 2, I did in the course room, but like my hatting for my post, I sped through that the best that I possibly could, because when you were fully hatted, you got paid more. And I'm a very money motivated person. Like, I don't mean that in like a bad way, but like I have goals, and unfortunately a lot of goals in life, you need some kind of like be financially successful. So I liked money, and I liked buying shit. And I liked giving my kids a lot of shit that I didn't have, or my daughter shit that I didn't have. So yeah, if I can get paid a couple extra $100 a week just from finishing a fucking booklet, I'm going to do it. And I did that shit. My husband did that shit. So we would when did I join? It was July of 2018, I believe, is when I signed my 2.5-year contract, and my husband too. And then we were averaging between $400 to $800 a week. And then around Christmas time, we both made, around Christmas, I think it was the week of Christmas, $1,500 a piece.
They actually gave bonuses. I got to say something to the audience real quick. The kind of money that Trinity's talking about that she made is absolutely unheard of. And then
they were doing a bunch of illegal shit.
Oh, right. You were one of the first ones to talk about the Chase Wave, which came out a little bit later. Wait, I'm glad you mentioned that, because I definitely want to cover that. But that's why you were so this is not going on anymore, because the Chase Wave shit came out. Like I said, we'll get to that towards the end, but this is not normal. So yeah, Trinity, so it was like a good freaking job, man.
Yeah,
you get Christmas bonuses.
Dude, I was 21, my husband's 27. So we're making like bands a week between the two of us. Yeah, we're gonna do that. We're gonna be fucking dedicated. Like, yeah, it sucks we're there 7 days a week, but like when we're not there, we can take our kid and do whatever the fuck we want. We can buy all the junk food, all the clothes, we can do whatever we want. And we roommated with my older brother, like 3 of my brothers actually. So our rent was like split. All of the bills were split like 4 ways. So dude, we were like, and we were so bad. Like, to be fair, we were so bad at financial planning then. Because whenever we started not getting paid a while after that, we had like, we got our tax return. We got like $5,000 for having a kid, and we lived off of that for like 4 months. But so we were bad with money. We blew all of it. And like, when we were like, oh my God, I want to go to a nice dinner. My older brother's like, well, I don't have any money. And we're like, okay, we'll pay for it. You know what I mean?
Wow,
like,
you actually had that kind of money on Scientology staff.
My uncle needed a fucking vacuum. His vacuum broke. And I took my ass to Walmart and got him like $100 vacuum, just no problem. And then my aunt from Virginia and her husband and a couple of my cousins came to visit, and my uncle was touring them around the church. And my uncle, like my aunt's husband, not a fucking Scientologist. He does not fuck with, he takes the stance that my stepdad does, right? So he was touring them around the org, and I was getting off post, and I walked up to them, and my uncle, like my mom's brother, my Scientologist uncle, was like, I'm trying to get her and her husband and your cousin to do the Problems of Work seminar, but I don't have money on me. I don't get paid till so-and-so. I need $250, I think is what it was. And I just handed him my paycheck that I just, I'm like, no fucking problem. Like, so we had money. And then like, whenever me and my husband got reg to do our clear packages, when under somebody else's name, the Course Soup took out a $60,000 line of credit, put it on the books under mine and my husband's name, and we were to give him $300 a month to pay it back, right? So yeah, that's how that happened. And when we were making money, that was fine. I didn't know that after like 6 months, the interest rates were going to kick in. It was going to be like way more than $300. It was going to like, I think it was like 300 altogether or 300 a piece, like per me and my husband. But I was like, I told the registrar that after like my uncle's best friend's the one told me, she's like, the interest rates are going to pick up and you're going to have to give dude more money. And I went to the registrar. I'm like, mother, you didn't tell me that.
Of course,
like I'm not planning for that. I haven't been planning for that. And then literally right out, like we paid him for several months. And then I think we gave him one big payment after the interest rates went up. And then the GI stat crashed. And then our money just went gone.
And that was because, do you think, looking back at it now, Trinity, that the Chase Wave scam, they were told to stop?
Yes, it popped. It would. So my cousin, who's still in Scientology, her boyfriend's mom did that. She got like a $40,000 line of credit. Again, I'm not going to use any names, but she got a $40,000 line of credit, put it on somebody's books, because it wasn't even staff members only that people were doing this for. It was like anybody. And the problem is that they were regging people who make a modest middle class or below middle class income. And again, probably aren't telling them about how the fees and shit are going to jump.
No.
So she did that. And then shocker, I don't know if it was a staff member or a public that the money was for, that she did it for. They quit paying her. And her credit was getting fucked up because she can't afford. She's also mid-average or lower class income. I think she may have even been on disability. I don't even know if she worked. She can't afford to pay a $40,000 credit card. The minimum payments on those, like depending, can be several hundreds of dollars a month. So she kept fucking bringing it up to the church. And I don't think I was supposed to know this, but my cousin's boyfriend has a really big mouth. And he told me that the church cut her a check for 40 grand after she created too much of a fuss. And she's still in good standing.
That's amazing.
It's amazing that she's in church. And they did that for so many people. The person, I don't know if they ever paid back the dude that gave, a flag rep told me and my husband were absolved of the debt. But then he kept hitting me up after I had already blown, asking me for this money. And I said, this person from Flag told me this. Here's his contact information. Don't contact me again.
Did you finally stop hearing from him?
Yes, because I told him, they told me they were going to pay you back. They told me that. They told me they were going to pay this man back because he was trying to pay for his son's clear package. And I kept telling him, pull the funds from my account, put it on his books because I'm never going to use it. So just pay for your son's clear package. But they told me they were going to pay you back. I hope they paid this man back because he was a good dude. It's not his fault. He didn't deserve it. But it's going to go to his son's clear package. I feel bad about it. I mean, the way it came about, we were like unspokenly, like we were responsible for it verbally. It was a verbal agreement. It was, you know what I mean? Like a handshake agreement. So we were responsible for it, but the circumstances in which it came and how the whole situation happened was illegal. I didn't know that. I felt like it was very illegal, but obviously who the fuck am I going to ask? Like, hey, is this illegal? It felt wrong. And then like, it's just, and we were like, again, we didn't know about the interest rates. I had never had a credit card until I moved to Tampa. Me and my husband, neither one of us had credit, never had a credit card, none of that. They got us signed up for all these fucking credit cards. My husband's still in a little bit of credit card debt because he was able to get approved for a fat credit card that we lived off of after we quit getting paid. So it was like, you see what I'm saying?
Yep.
Now, like, our credit's good now. Like, I got that shit down packed. Now
good job, because that doesn't sound easy.
Yeah.
Fucked it so badly. And this is typical what you're talking about, especially during the Chase Wave. Every family member is always trying to help other people. The registrar won't tell her about the interest rate. And especially Trinity, when that Chase Wave scam was going, it's going to implode on them. Like, how are they? Nobody's going to be able to pay it. Then you have to, like you said, you're living off of your credit cards now because you're not getting the money. Like, they just created this massive thing.
And then I was scared because we were getting hit up and like getting in trouble because we couldn't figure out how to pay this dude back.
Right.
So when we got the credit card, my husband got it. I didn't tell them. Because I was like, they're going to ask for it. They're like the fucking IRS, dude. You got a little bit of money.
They would show up at my parents' house. They know all the finances of everybody, even before you walk in the door. They're I don't even know how you describe it, but they're just like
They're
invasion
like
of the body snatchers
IRS.
on your
They
money.
think they're
Yeah, even
entitled to a
worse.
cut of everything you have. Like I remember I got hit by a car in 2016 when I was pregnant, and I
they
was in the
wanted
middle
your
of a
settlement.
lawsuit for it. And I had told them that I should be
that.
getting this lawsuit. I didn't know, Doug.
I understand.
Like at the time, I didn't know.
Hindsight's always 2020.
Here's the thing. So the registrar even said, and when you get your settlement, you'll just pay them all back, like whatever you owe. And I'm like, yeah, that sounds like a good fucking idea.
Totally.
So after shit started getting weird, and I started getting weird feelings and having doubts, and all this money stuff started happening, my lawyer threw out a potential number that I could get. And I didn't tell a fucking soul. I told my grandfather, because like, again, I can trust my grandpa. Like he's lied to me. I know that now.
I'm sure they still found out, Trinity. I'm sure they still found out somehow.
They never hit me up about it. My grandpa, I told him, because I told him the amount, and I said, I don't want nobody to know about it. And he's like, we need to do the affluent condition, because this is going to be a lot of money. And if you get this money, I don't want you to like blow all this money. This is going to set you up for life. Like he was very like, and he even was like whispering about it, because he knows my grandpa hates Scientologists. Like he loves Scientology, loves Ron. He hates Scientology. Like Scientologists. He hates them. He thinks they're all like, he thinks they're like grounding, like, and my grandpa's a greedy man. He's stingy. He's got, you know what I mean? So he was like, we got to get you like doing this condition when you get this money. We got to have a game plan. Don't blow all your money. Like be smart with this. This is going to set you and your kid up for the rest of your, like, you know what I mean? Like he was real supportive of it. I didn't even get that money until like a couple years after I left. And it wasn't
that amount, right?
No, it was. I mean, it was a lot, but it wasn't that. And I remember like whenever my husband brought home the fucking check, because he picked it up for me, I was like, damn, if I was at the church, I would have handed them all this shit.
Yes.
And I was still brainwashed. And yeah, it was.
Thank God you were out of it at this point, because that's exactly what you would have done. And excitingly, right? You would have been able to pay for your freaking clear package. What could be more valuable than that? According to Scientology.
Right. And I didn't even do anything. I haven't done.
You never even got to do the freaking bridge.
No,
a lot of staff members and people that are in and around it, like you, Trinity,
they never even routed onto my SRD, which I think is the next step after.
Yeah.
I can't even really tell you much about the bridge to total freedom. I can't tell you. I can talk about my experiences and like what I know, but honestly, I'm so ignorant to a lot of the tech and the policies and stuff that I do know. I know because people were, whenever I realized I was getting like manipulated and gaslit and being treated unfairly, I would go into Ron's library and I would like find the big ball, like the green balls, and I would get the HCO one out and like start documenting the policies that are contradicting everything they say. And I started putting it all together in my head, like, well, this policy says this, but it completely contradicts this one. And it was like this fucking crazy,
That's part of the mind control, Trinity, and why we say so fucked in it. Because my parents would do the same thing. They could always, when the reg would hit them up, they'd say, well, here's a policy to counter that one. But then the reg would pull out another counter policy. There's always policies that counter each other. So it becomes policy wars is what they call it. And that's part of keeping us confused, because the whole thing's contradictory. It doesn't make any sense at all. Oh my God.
Yeah.
So after you get out of, how did you get out of staff? Like, so you stopped making the freaking $400 to $800. You're now going more and more into debt. And didn't they put you on some kind of weird thing where you had to handle the kids somehow and you still have to be, your whole life got crazy, right?
So the nanny that was there originally ended up quitting shortly after that. And they recruited 2 girls off the street, never Scientologists, and was like, you can make this much money a week if you come like watch staff members' kids and like public's kids so they can do services. So the 2 girls that were down there, one of them actually is now my nephew's mother. Like her and my brother had a baby together, and she's absolutely wonderful. And my daughter, that was the only fucking nanny down there that my daughter wouldn't scream with when I walked away. She loves, I call it, they're not, my brother and her are not together, but I call her my sister because we're really like, she's a wonderful person. That is the only one that my daughter would not scream being left alone with. And she got pregnant with my nephew. My brother was on staff and she was on staff when they got pregnant. She comes from a family where mental health is valued and you handle it. So she's very into therapy. She's into psychiatry. Her brother is a full-blown schizophrenic and he's young. So like he was normal her whole life. And then at some point in his 20s developed schizophrenia, and she has had to Baker act her brother. She's had to you know, she's seen what this like how it's deteriorated her best friend. So they were coming at her, like the church was like trying to get her to disagree with psychiatry and shit. And
Oh,
she was like,
Lord.
full stop, like, because the reason why my brother hasn't completely lost his mind or like killed himself is because he's being medicated and he's being taken care of by professionals. So she started realizing it was a cult too, because when we would go to staff members, at the end of the staff member, you would have to like stand up and go hip hip hooray to a fucking bust of L. Ron Hubbard.
Yep.
And I thought it was kind of weird, but I thought it was like, oh my God, this is like I belong somewhere, like belonging. The whole time, my sister is like, and then like a few months after that, I learned her like, do you think it's a little cultish that we praise a rock? Like, you know what I mean? Like, you don't think that's a little weird?
Straight facts.
Like, no, that's not weird. It's Ron. Look what he did. And they're like, okay, because I was drinking the Kool-Aid at this point. I was so into it because like my uncle, my mom's brother, again, and I want to say before my mom, again, my mom's first husband, he's cool. I call him dad too. He's my little brother's dad. He's more of like my friend. My stepdad is like my dad, the person I call like my dad. But my uncle, up until like my mom got with my stepdad, he was like the most stable father figure I had in my whole life. And he raised me, my older brother mainly. Like we are very, very close to him. And when I was on staff and doing this, that was the first time in my whole life that man was actually like proud of me. And I could see it. Like I could see it, not just like, oh yeah, that's cool. Or like, you know, saying what he's supposed to say. And I don't know, I'm not him. This is just me speculating on my own, like how the vibe and everything. He could be absolutely proud of me and just not know how to express it. But it felt like this was the first time in my life he was proud of me and like proud to have me, you know, because I've always kind of been like the Miss Emotional, like crybaby of the family. I've kind of always been like a little, you know, before like one of my little brothers, I don't want to say picked on, but I was very invalidated and suppressed a lot my whole life. So that's kind of like, so whenever I'm here and I'm doing this, I'm like, I kind of felt like I belonged more to my family, like with the big dogs, you know what I mean? The big dogs meaning like my grandpa's always perfectly nice to me, minus a few things that I realized now as an adult. My uncle and my grandpa and like my older brother were like the big dogs of the family, and they like rolled together, you know what I mean? And like me, my older brother is super close, but it's like, again, this is me speculating, and this is just how I feel because I think my siblings and I have family members watching. He kind of is like a different person around like my uncle and grandpa, you know what I mean? Versus like if it's just me or just like in a normal setting. So like I felt more accepted, you know what I mean, doing
I know
this.
exactly what you mean.
And then whenever my life started going to shit and I was like on the verge of like suicide and shit, and my uncle's like crying, like, I'm just so proud of you. I could cry right now with tears welling up in his eyes. I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to kill my uncle if I, like, he's like, you are what's keeping the family online, you being on staff. And the ED told me that shit too. So they put the weight of my family's eternity on my goddamn shoulders. I'm like, guys, I want to fucking die. Like, I'm about to eat a bullet. Can you just like, I couldn't tell him that. And my uncle, again, does not know unless he's secretly watching this shit, which I doubt he is. He doesn't know what I was going through. He doesn't.
Not even to this day, Trinity. You never got to talk to him about it.
No. I mean, before he like completely disconnected from me, there were like we were still on Facebook, and he was like, our relationship was a little strained after I blew because he knew it was a blow, but I wouldn't admit to it. He said something on one of my posts, and I was like, LOL, but it's okay because you hate me, because I felt like, God damn, this dude does not like me. And he called me and he was like, I never hate you. I love you so much. And I was like, oh my God, okay, I'm about to cry. Like, what the fuck? So I feel like if he truly knew the mental state that I was in and how close everybody came to losing me, it would be different. But again, per Leaving and Leaves, I'm not allowed to talk to my, you know what I mean?
I know.
So I feel like
not only do I know what you mean, this is my story too.
Yeah. And like one day, because my uncle's still young, so this is not, and it's maybe me being completely optimistic, but one day He won't be in Scientology anymore. And
You think so,
neither will my
Trinity?
aunt.
You
I
think so?
really do. I really, if he's in, if he's, I think he will always believe in the tech. I
That's
don't
okay.
think he will be as balls deep drinking the Kool-Aid as he is.
What makes you
forever.
say that based on how hardcore he really has been up to this point?
Because for like, from the time I was like 10, 11 years old until I was 21, he was a Scientologist and he believed in the tech, but he was a real fucking person. A
He
real
wasn't
person.
a total Ron droid.
No,
He could
and
still
he
have empathy
never.
and
This is what's so fucked up is like we were never like Scientology, and I never felt like Scientology was shoved down our throats growing up. And I felt like we had an open family. We could, I mean, it's
cool.
not open, but like as far as religion goes, like they would just kind of like, I would go to like a Christian church with my friend and stuff, and they were like, oh, okay, like I'm a little weird, but they wouldn't like prevent me from going. It was, I never felt like it was shoved down our throats. Then when I go through most of my life at that point, 10 years almost of not being super hardcore Scientology. And then we go there now that I'm like a married woman creating my own family. Like for my brothers too, now you want to start shoving fucking Scientology down our throat and your love being conditional, like your acceptance and love being conditional based on how we are in standing with the church. Now that I'm an adult, now that I've had a taste of somewhat normalcy, you know what I mean?
I know what you mean.
So I know him, and I think at the core, he's a good dude. He's a product of his upbringing, which Scientology aside wasn't, again, me speculating based on stories I've heard from my mom and my aunt and a couple from him. Love you, Grandma, if you're watching this. My grandparents did a fucking number on their kids. And it's like my mom, I'm sorry, my throat's really dry. I'm not about to cry, but
you can if you want, by the way.
I'm not going to cry.
I'm not going to cry either, damn it. You almost got me a couple minutes ago. It's not
really?
going to happen.
Oh my God.
Just because Trinity, you're literally saying my upbringing. Right? That's why I told you I resonated massively when I saw your first freaking video.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry you had to go through this. You're not.
It builds character, and look how funny I am now.
It does.
Look how funny I am.
I love your personality and the fact that you came out with your personality intact. Especially you're young. You got the rest of your life. So yeah, you'll chalk it up, hopefully, right, as the glass half full experience. You got what you got out of it, but thank God you never have to go back.
Yeah, I mean, I guess this shit is pretty fucking heavy. I mean, my best friend's watching it right now, and she's probably like, bitch, I've like consoled you so many times, but like, I forget how often I've actually like ugly sobbed about this.
Me too, Trinity.
Because I laugh about it. Like,
that's good. Me too.
I have to, or it'll like,
otherwise you'll go nuts.
Because when I first left, and whenever the risk of losing my family was on the table, and again, this was when I was still like so codependent. I had just gotten like my first little shitty studio apartment without my family, with just me, my husband, and my kid. It would tear me up. And I was like, and then even after I had like my youngest daughter, and I started, to be fair, my uncle, other personal shit, Scientology aside, had said something to me that at the time was extremely insensitive and fucked up. And I don't think I've told many people, like I think I've told my mom and my aunt and my best friend about what was said to me, like the conversation between me and my uncle, that what he said to me, and I remember it clear as day. I was home alone with my kids, sent me spiraling, questioning my entire fucking childhood. And I came to the realization after literally sobbing, breaking down on the phone in my bathroom for hours with my mom, that my uncle's fucking mean to me, dude. He's not nice to me. And it was like this realization that like, fuck, dude, he like hates my guts. You know what I mean? So I pulled away first, to be fair. But I still, if he called me, I answered. You know what
because you were under his power, sort of.
After that point, I didn't. After that point, I just like, I kind of made it very clear I don't want him in my space. I don't want to communicate with him. He triggers me, like genuinely, like he fucks me up, like being around him. I feel like Trinity, he's not good for me.
Was it hard for him to understand why you suddenly had this new cognition? Because you went about face on him, right? Because up until then, he was your best bud, right?
No, and I'm gonna tell you why I haven't explained that to him either. And the reason why is like he and my grandpa and my older brother have this way of making you second guess yourself.
Gaslighting.
You know what I mean? And it's not, and again, my older brother's awesome. Like, I just want to say that he's probably watching. I love you, and I'm not shitting on you. He's great. He's a product of his fucking upbringing too, and the men in his life.
I understand.
He, me and him are very close. Now me and him can have a conversation. Me and my brother can have a really good conversation, and we're good. Everything is good with me and my brother. So mainly, particularly my uncle, he has even before we were super, super back into Scientology, he has this, why are you being ineffective at? Why are you being a victim? I was told so many times by like my mom, not really my mom, but my uncle and his wife and my grandma growing up, like, quit being such a fucking victim. Like, when traumatic things for me as like a kid or a young teenager would happen, why are you being such a victim? Like, right. So you see what I'm saying? God. So even
I know what you're saying.
Right, especially in the midst of him being super hard on the Kool-Aid, I feel like if I tried to bring that, because he already also has it decided in his head that I'm a sack of shit right now. Yep. Not his words, these are mine. This is me speculating just based off of like the vibe. We can't have that conversation. So I haven't even told him what the problem is, like why I initially was just like, because I think it was like a baby shower that we were all going to be at, and I didn't go. I didn't want to go. And because he was going to be there, and it was like days after me spiraling and having like my mental fucking breakdown. Oh. And my older brother, because he was for his youngest, begged me to go. And I had a couple of my friends, and I went, and I was there for 15 minutes, and I didn't look at him. I didn't say anything. I just went in the house, and the whole time I was like shaking. I was like bringing the vibe down because I couldn't function. I didn't want to be there. And I made it clear, I'm like, I love you. I want to support you, but I don't want to fucking be like, I can't right now. And my aunt, his wife, was like looking at me fucking crazy and was like going back to his mom, like, she's being antagonistic. She's trying to be drama right now. But like genuinely, I was like, yes. And genuinely, like I could have ripped my fucking hair out at that moment. And then what made me leave the situation is my older brother. And this is what I mean. Like, he's a different dude around these people. My best buddy in the whole world walked in the door and was like, hey, your fucking enemy's outside. Oh, shit. Like laughing. And I'm like, oh, you fucking prick. And I'm like, Mom, I'm leaving. I can't, because I was about to cry. And I'm like, I'm not about to fucking act a fool right now. I'm not going to ruin my sister-in-law's baby shower for her first baby. Like, so I was like, I'm checking out. Bye. And then I like gave her a gift. I was there for max 20 minutes. And I bounced.
Man, Trinity, I feel your freaking pain, because you're not being a victim. Everybody's emotionless in Scientology. And these are real fucking concerns and problems that you have. Same thing with my parents. I could never communicate with them anything real, because they thought I was the fucking drama queen and the black sheep and shit too. We just fucking have legitimate concerns, but you can't talk too much about that in the Scientology family, because you don't want to come across as, it just validates what they already know. My parents knew I was kind of a piece of shit. So if I then act normally, because I'm mad, because we're in a cult and I can't, what's happening, then I just validate and confirm to them how much of a victim and a piece of shit I really am. So you can't win. So
you really
me,
can't, because it's like, they're like, what's wrong with you for crying right now?
Yeah.
Like, why are you being so upset right now? And like, it was never like, I'm not trying to paint my family out to be like fucked up, because they're really not. They're good people.
Same with my
They've
family.
been lied to. Like, they've been lied to their whole fucking lives. My grandpa's 72 years old. He's going to die in this shit.
That's so
He's a
sad,
very
man.
intelligent, smart man. I've even told my aunt, I'm not going to be the fucking one to tell him that it's all bullshit, because I'm not killing him. That would break his fucking heart. I'm not doing it. I'm not going to let him sit there and know what he did to his family unknowingly, thinking that he was doing the best thing in the world. And again, with my uncle, maybe when my grandfather passes away, if I can, I want to have that conversation, at least with my cousin, maybe with my aunt. But again, like, it's their right to be a Scientologist. I have never told them to stop being Scientologists, but I feel like you should be aware of what's happening and decide from there.
Sounds so easy. I feel like
you should just know what the fuck is right. And then if you still decide, okay, well, yeah, that sucks, but the tech is good, because that's kind of like where my mom's at. My mom's like, the tech is good. This is crazy, but like, the tech is good. That's where my aunt is. That's where my brothers are. I mean, even in some instances, I mean, I'm more like fucking anti-Scientology. I hate to admit, like, if anything in Scientology, like,
feel you
comes
on
into play and is, like, positive in my life, I'm
Yeah.
like, no, don't fucking,
I
no.
feel you, man.
No, but, like, really, like,
That's
because,
me.
I mean, Scientology is based off of so many good things.
Yeah,
Like, the
exactly.
introductory shit, like, you don't need Scientology. You can go on fucking YouTube and find something to the equivalent of Problems of Work for free. So it's not like it's not special, but it's like a lot of it's good. It's good
Yeah,
shit.
because you stole
I'm
from the
who I
best
am
people.
now because I grew up in Scientology, and honestly, it wasn't all bad, you know. Yeah.
Oh
but
man, you made
that's what we're
so
talking
many
about.
good points. It's like
I'm
we're
sorry.
living.
I
No,
go on
what? Sorry for
tangents,
what?
and
We're
I
living
keep
parallel
getting
lives,
out
and
of
I'm
like. Yeah, I'm paying too much attention to that.
Trinity. You're doing fantastic. In fact, I mean, I'm getting not restimulated in a bad way, but you're just you're what you're explaining is so similar. Like my dad just passed.
I'm
In
sorry.
Yeah, it's fucked up. You know, he passed in March 2nd or 1st, just a few months ago,
Oh,
as
I'm
an
sorry.
OT8. But just like you said, I love what you said. It's beautiful because I felt the same way. Like it's okay for them to be Scientologists. Just practice outside of the church, fine. As
Yeah.
long as they're not being manipulated and their money's being sucked out, they can practice it
Yeah,
outside
or
a
have to
hell of a
leave
lot
their fucking
easier.
friends and family.
I
Like,
know.
that's
And
the
the
biggest fucking thing. It's
disconnection.
so
If
fucked
they just got rid
up.
of that one fucking thing, man, just that one thing. And this is why I'm
I
surprised.
know.
I'm not encouraging
Think of
any.
how, like,
I know. They've fucked up
it would
so
be
many
so
families.
wonderful if that disconnection policy wasn't in
No
place.
shit.
Because then if I start going and also I feel like members of Scientology should be able to look up what's going on. They should be educated. Like
right.
they should. It's their fucking right. You're hindering their fucking rights by telling them not to type it in the Google search bar. Like, it's
Great
fucked
point.
up. And I would love it if the disconnection policy didn't happen and my family had the freedom to look into it if they wanted to, if they could, and they were just choosing not to. That's completely different. That's completely
Right.
different. It would be fucking wonderful if I could sit there and go on a rant about Scientology to my uncle and him just be like, damn, that's crazy. I'm going to go back on course now. Love you.
Yeah.
Talk to you later. Like, that would be wonderful because that's like any other religion. That's
I
what
was
fucking
just going to say
happens.
that. I was just going to say that. So it makes that policy so
God.
evil and so stupid.
Scientology reminds me of the fucking government. They remind me of the goddamn
Yeah,
IRS.
exactly.
I'm like,
Hey,
fucking, my
don't
God,
get me started. And
fuck.
God damn it, we're on YouTube. We've got to do a BitChute video together and deep dive on the freaking government, like the biggest cult of all.
That's what I'm going to be making videos about too, like the fucking corrupt food supply and shit like that. Because that shit's interesting. Like cults and shit are cool, and talking about Scientology is very therapeutic for me.
That's good to hear.
It's not my whole I mean, I was consumed with it, and I still am. Like, the whole reason why me and you are talking now is because I get in these phases where I consume nothing but Scientology material, and then I started binging your videos, and I was like almost in tears. So I'm like, holy shit. That's why I was like commenting. I'm like, oh my fucking God, Doug. Like, this is crazy. Because you were one of the first channels I watched whenever I left.
Videos.
Like,
really?
Yeah, and then I watched, like, I think you had up to like 6 episodes, and I think I got to the episode where you were talking about how you were like in the same clique as like Danny Masterson and all of them, and like you started talking about like you becoming like an actor and stuff, and then I just got caught up with life, and then I quit binging. Like, I didn't for like a year. I wasn't really paying it because I was just like, okay, that's enough. Like, this is consuming me. And then I started getting back into it when Aaron started uploading more. I started watching the Aftermath again. And I watched Going Clear and then the My Scientology movie for like the 2nd or 3rd time. And then I was like, oh my God, what's Aaron doing? And I went on his channel because at the time he wasn't uploading a lot. And then I saw he was uploading like a couple times a month. And then it turned into what it is now. And I was like there for it. And I was so fucking happy.
No shit. He helped a lot of us out too by doing that. Popped off a lot of channels, and I feel a lot more protected, and you must too, just by the sheer number of people speaking out. Yeah,
I mean, that's true. Because like whenever I uploaded my original, like the Ask Me Anything.
That was raw, by the way. You fucking hit my heart with that freaking video, man.
So?
What do you mean? I think so. A lot of people did, man. I know. So I was freaking crying during that because I think I wrote you a comment, man, where I'm like, Trinity, I know we don't know each other, but God damn it, man, we have parallel. I just really resonate with your story. And we don't hear a lot about families that only a X amount of percentage actually are Sea Org or whatever, but it's the family dynamics, the practicing Scientologists, especially you're a perfect example of that because there's tons of people out there. The Scientology family, I talk about how it comes in via one family member and like a virus or a cancer, it needs to be spread to everybody else. And this is what it does, guys. This is a guy who's been dead since 86. We never even met this man who came into Trinity's in my life, and I never got to see my dad for 40 years. Trinity, he was a guy I never knew, and it was like living a parallel life where we were supposed to be together. I have a good family; they're good people, but for 40 years, this asshole came in and changed everything, and my dad exited this world, never resolving that. Talk about the ultimate ARC break. You know what I mean? They create ARC breaks, man, like left and right.
And
but
I can't even.
Oh my God.
I can't even imagine because like my grandpa had some health issues back in October, and I think I told you about it. And I went to Tampa, and I saw him because I was like, I don't like. I hope somebody from the church is there. I'll fucking, you know what I mean? Like, I don't give a shit. This is my and my thing, because whenever I first left the church and I was like risking like being declared and shit because I was like blowing and ignoring them, I even told my mom, I was like, bro, honestly, I don't give a fuck if I get declared because I have their address. I can pop up at their house right fucking now and go sit on their couch where they're not going to call the cops on me. They're not going to kick me out. I can let my kid go in there. So like whenever my grandpa had his health issues, and again, there's other like family shit outside of like, besides Scientology, that like other family problems. But regardless, like that's my regardless of anything, I love my grandfather. So when he almost passed, my ass went and I went to see him. And then the next day after I got there, I thought he was asleep, but I went in his hospital room and he was awake and he was like shot. He was like, "Hey, sweetie," and I like went up to him. He was like grabbing like my hands, like kissing my hand. I was like, "Oh my God, are you like good? You're not dead." And I like, and then I left and I like kissed his hand. I said, "Call me if you need me to come back." And he's like, "You got a life. Keep doing what you're doing."
Wow.
And I was like, "All right." So now, and like, I don't want him to pass. It's not. But again, like I am grateful that I'm able to just do that. You couldn't just do that. So many other people couldn't just fucking do that. And it's fucked up. Like, it's fucked up what Scientology's done to my family, but that's what I mean when I say, like, it sucks, but it's, like, compared. Like, it's fucked up. It's not okay. And I couldn't even imagine. I'm so sorry that happened. It would infuriate. I would burn the whole fucking place down if my grandpa was about to die and somebody was preventing me from going to see my fucking grandpa. It wouldn't fucking go down the way like Scientologists who've been in the bubble their whole lives and can't fight. It wouldn't fucking happen where they're gonna, like, what are you gonna do? If I'm going to the what are you gonna fucking do? It's kind of how I see it. If I want to go see my uncle right now, I will go to his. I live 3 hours away. If I want to, I will go. What are y'all gonna do? Because they haven't completely disconnected from like my mom, my siblings. My uncle doesn't acknowledge my existence when we're in a room together, but my aunt and my cousin, like, they're good roads, good weather. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And and all I can think is the reason why they talk shit about me and my husband to my mom and my brothers. Well, I'm just going to say my mom. Like, I have a feeling they talk shit about me to like my older brother and stuff, but he defends me. He doesn't, I know he defends me. He doesn't know that I know, but I've had other people tell me instances where he's had my fucking back with my uncle being a shithead. Good. So, what was I saying? Again, I forgot what I was saying. I'm so sorry.
Oh, it's okay. We're just riffing anyways. And that's
anyways, I mean, that's what I'm fucking saying is like,
Trinity,
if I really want to go see my family, I'm going to go see my fucking family. What are you going to do? Y'all aren't going to call the cops.
I'm glad you feel that way because
you're going to kick my kid out of your house when they're running up to you saying, "Uncle, Daniel," like, "Oh my God, I love you." I've seen her cousins, like my cousins or her second cousins, like she loves them. Y'all going to kick me and my kid out of your house? When I went there when my grandpa was having his health issues, I went into their house to like use the restroom and to get some like ibuprofen or whatever. My uncle wouldn't even come in the house. Like, he stayed outside, and I wanted to leave so bad because I'm like, okay, well, now this is fucked up because this is his home. This is his safe space, and he doesn't feel safe with me there. And we couldn't find like an Airbnb, so I'm like, great, if we can't find an Airbnb, they can all sleep here. I'm gonna have to sleep in my car.
Wow.
Are you good?
Oh, you can bring your
You wanna
cutie
come say
pie in
hi?
here if she wants to come in and say hi. This is her daughter. So sweet.
This is
Hey,
Madeline. She
you.
was there
Oh,
with me.
Madeline, she's got your
Yeah.
smile in your eyes. She's so freaking cute. Hi, Madeline. You are
What's
adorable.
Sissy asleep?
Oh my gosh, she looks just like you.
What's your phone? Oh my god, thank you.
What
All right,
did
say
she
night
say?
night. Courtney's in the chat. She's watching her show. Say night night
She's
to
so
Courtney.
cute.
Night night.
Good night, sweetheart. Oh my
I
gosh,
love
look
you.
at how much she looks like you.
No, she's very tall too. She comes up to like here to me. A
You're
tall
gonna have to
baby.
keep an eye on her as she gets
What?
older. Don't keep the
Oh,
Scientology
show-
stuff.
You want to show him?
Unless
See?
that's Dalton.
What has she got? Let's see it.
But I'm almost as tall
Oh,
as
that's.
you.
Oh
Like,
wow, God,
yeah,
you're so
you're my tall
cute.
baby. I know, or I'm just short. She's not gonna be
So
short like
sweet.
me.
And my
She's 6, right?
is right
Yeah,
to my
she's 6.
stomach.
Oh yeah, she said, and my sister's right up to my stomach, and she's 2. My 2-year-old's really tall too. They big.
And she takes
Oh,
care
Courtney
of
said
her.
hi,
Right?
Maddie.
Oh,
Yeah,
God.
she helps like, and okay, so that's another thing. I had to take care of my little brothers a lot because whenever they got too big to bring to the org and to the flea markets and stuff, my mom still had to go to post, and her first husband, my dad, had to work, so it was like my older brother was fucking off and getting into drugs and being like a crazy teenager, so I was like the scapegoat babysitter.
Yeah.
So I have like a huge thing, like I can't, like I had a lot to do with the upbringing of my little brothers. They were toddlers, like little kids. They don't remember the extent of which I was doing the thing.
Mm-hmm.
I remember because I was like 10, 11 years old. So I fully remember, and I fully remember feeling like a second mom.
Yeah.
So now I have like, and it's fucked me up. And my mom didn't mean to. Again, my mom's wonderful. She had to do what she had to do. Cool. Now as a parent, she does do stuff with her sister, but I don't let her like take care of her sister because I'm so like, you're not raising your sibling. Like oldest siblings and oldest daughters especially are not scapegoat moms. Like that's not the glorified babysitter. It's just, it fucks people up. Like I have a lot
Yes.
of issues because I had the responsibility of 3 toddlers and babies at like 11 years old, like that, you know, and now I can't ever calm down. Now I'm always worried my kids are gonna because my brothers were crazy and would jump off shit and swallow shit. We had to they were fucking nuts, dude. They got so many injuries in my care.
And you're
like,
11 or 12?
11 or 12.
It's the responsibility.
They got injured in my fucking mom's care just because like boys are crazy.
Yeah,
so it's like
true.
So I'm like fucked up from that. You know what I mean? So like now I'm like,
and you don't want to raise your kids like that though, at least on the
no.
positive, right?
Hell
I
no.
mean,
so when the nannying went out the door at the org and I was living at my uncle's, my younger cousin, not the one that doesn't talk to me anymore, but like her little sister, when she was again like 12, 13, was having to come home from school and babysit my 1.5, 2-year-old daughter until whenever I got home from the org. And she was doing it for free. I would do with my food stamps, I would go buy her snacks. When I get a little bit of money, I take her to Goodwill and buy her like some trinkets and stuff. But I didn't have money like that. I did what I could. It wasn't completely for free. And again, I was like I felt like such a piece of shit.
it must have been driving you crazy too that you can't be near your daughter because of Scientology.
It triggered me because I'm like, she would want to go play with her friends, but she's like, I have to go watch my cousin's daughter. I have to go watch my little cousin.
And you feel like a piece of shit for having her do that.
So
but you don't have any solution because you don't have any money. And they fucked you with the org.
I would get guilt tripped by people in my family. She's always watching your daughter. And I'm like, okay, but if I bring her to post with me, I get bitched at. If I go down in the nursery with her and I'm not producing, I get bitched at.
And
if
that
I
nursery
don't
was
come
disgusting
to post, I get
too,
bitched
by the
at.
way, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
some of them, it wasn't. It was shit. It was in the fucking basement.
It was in the
down
basement.
in
I
the
know.
basement, like away.
Yep.
It was like it had like a nice like sign or what. It was okay. It wasn't. It was in the basement with like no fucking windows. Down in the basement.
Yep.
Down. Like you can't hear screaming for nothing if something happened.
Isn't that
Which is
weird?
crazy to think about now.
I know now, but
that place is so haunted. It was an
I was
old
just gonna
cigar
freaking
factory
say
from,
that,
like,
man.
Way back in the day, like it's
I was just
hundreds of
gonna
years
say that.
old. It's a really nice building, but that's just fucking
Did
haunted.
you ever pick up on any OT body thetans and BTs and ghosts and shit around? Did you ever
Ghosts?
feel like
Yeah.
I'm just I'm being semi-facetious,
No.
but who knows? Trinity, I'm talking about the evil vibe. I always describe Scientology. Even before I knew anything about the mission, I could feel this energy where
I
it
felt it
did
in
feel
the
haunted or
people.
weird or bizarre.
Some people at the org, like, I mean, the place, I felt like a weird vibe, like tingles on the back of my neck because it was haunted. Like, I fully
I
believe in
don't doubt
ghosts and
that.
shit.
I
I
don't
do.
doubt that
Like,
at
it
all.
fucking come for me. I don't care. I believe in ghosts.
Mhm.
It was
Yeah,
haunted.
so do I.
It was creepy, especially if you're there at 10 o'clock at night walking up from the basement. Nobody's down there. It's weird. I would
fucking
feel
bet.
vibes from the people. I would get unsafe, creepy, don't leave your kid with them vibes from several public and several staff member and Sea Org members. Because, you know, at the orgs, they have some Sea Org members are post there. You have like a Sea Org rep and
Yeah, which are
the
terrifying.
DFP, the FBI, like whatever. They and like the security guards were Sea Org, and the maintenance dude, like the head maintenance dude, whose name was James Bond. Actually, he was a really cool dude. But
That was
he
his real freaking name.
Yes, his real like legal name is James
He
Bond.
was destined to be a
Yeah,
Scientologist
he
with
was
that
so,
name.
but he was so fucking cool. Like he was lit as hell. But he like they were all Sea Org members, and like most of the Sea Org dudes were fine, but like one of the security guards in particular were like, I got like you probably beat your wife kind of vibes from him. And again,
I
it's
know what you're
fucked
talking
up, but
about.
like I go with my gut.
Me
I
too,
listen to my
nowadays
gut. So if my
especially.
gut's saying somebody beats their wife,
Amen.
I ain't finna. I mean, I'll fight anybody, but you know what I'm saying?
Amen.
Like,
Yeah, I know what you're saying, especially now.
yeah.
I felt like they beat that out of me, Trinity, because even as a kid, I knew it was
Really?
evil. I described it as evil entering our family through my father. There's nothing wrong with my
Yeah.
dad. Forgive them, for they know not what they do. He got captured too. But man, ever since that day, my instincts were being shut down slowly, because I knew all the time. But I don't know how to explain it. I was just under a spell where they took away my intuition, which I listen to 100% nowadays, and they
Mhm.
replace it with kind of a left brain exact science where you just download Hubbard into your mind endlessly and you don't actually do any fucking thinking.
So you
Or
never like,
feeling.
had like vibes or like gut feelings about stuff?
All
I
the
mean, you were
time,
like
but it
from the
got shut
time you
down.
were a little kid, you were like in that shit. You're
Yes,
like you
around 9.
grew up in it, like in
Yes.
yeah.
I
Okay.
did. I went to the mission Trinity like you did, you know. So my dad got into it when I was around 9, and then he hornswoggled my mother to get into it by, you know, they were going to get a divorce because my mom said hell no because she felt the freaking creepy vibes, and my dad looked hypnotized, and he was already speaking
Yeah.
Scientology gibberish on day 1. So we always knew something was, but they manipulate, right? So my mom says, my dad says, if what he said, Trinity, is we're going to have to borrow a large sum of money because we didn't have any money at the time. We were kind of lower to barely middle,
Mhm.
maybe. So he said, I need to do this thing. He just went to work one freaking day, saw an ad in the newspaper that said Dianetics, went to the mission the whole day and night, got regged by the registrar for $10,000.
Mm-mm.
And said, I came back to my mom and said, yeah, I found this new thing. You know, he looked freaking crazy, man. And I'm going to borrow $10,000 from my brother because it's really going to help our marriage and my problems. And I just need to do this thing. Mom says, what the fuck are you talking about? They argued about it for months. And finally, my mom came up to me one night and said, I don't want to scare you, Doug, but we might have to get a divorce. I can't really explain what the Scientology thing is, but that's what the battle's about. He wants to borrow this money. I don't know what the fuck's going on. So my mom was manipulated where he finally said to her, look, do you want to risk a divorce or why don't you just go down and fucking check it out? Why are you just listening to rumors or whatever? Go down and check it out. They found her ruin, you know, that day when she finally did. And then they were on board. I forgot where I was going with this, but the whole point is like,
Yeah.
that's just like you. That's what I grew up in. I was always hanging around the missions. Sometimes I would do courses, sometimes not. But and like you, it was freaking fun, man. I didn't know necessarily what I was involved in. I got to go hang out with some cool kids, and I met so
Yeah.
many cool people, man. I'm thinking of them right now.
A lot
We
of
played
young
hacky
dudes,
sack.
like young
Yeah,
kids whose
hip.
parents are on like staff or
Exactly. It was
just
kind of
played
cool.
with
You
them.
felt like a grown
Yeah.
up and shit. You
Yeah.
felt like
Because you got left to your own devices. Like
exactly.
the Memphis mission is like this huge, it's such an old building and it's
That's
huge. I
awesome.
felt like I was in like a fairy tale castle
Yeah,
and I
yeah,
was
yeah.
like by myself in this amazing, like in Memphis though. Like I don't know if you know anything about Memphis, but
A little bit.
it's like near, I think I was a little kid. I'm pretty sure it was near downtown. Like, so like the church was like this light place and then you like go on the sidewalk and it's just like you step back into the light, like because it was like it was
Wow.
dangerous, it was crime ridden, and there was like Memphis has a really bad homeless problem,
Mhm.
and a lot of them are not mentally stable and have drug issues. Obviously people aren't when you know what I'm saying, like people can be dangerous. I'm not saying all homeless people are dangerous, but mentally unstable or people who are on drugs are. And I'd be left to my own devices, and as long as I stayed up by like the front door, there was no cameras or anything, I would by myself. There were kids there at a point, but then eventually the parents quit coming, so eventually it was just like us. We're the only kids that would come, and I would bring like friends from school with me when they would spend the night with me. But I was like by myself, like playing through the courtyard on this big beautiful patio. I would be so bored that I would go in the basement and I would like organize all of the rooms in the basement, like go through documents and like just organize things. I kept getting like accommodations because I was like organizing and cleaning everything because I was bored. The basement was super haunted. 2 doors would slam and I'd be the only one down there.
No
There
shit,
would be
man.
7 people in total in that fucking church. Most of them were in the course room. There was a receptionist, but there wasn't even always somebody at the front desk. I would have to answer the phone and like guide people if they came in, if I happened to be up there, like a little kid.
Man.
But the basement was huge, and there were so many rooms because the sauna, the Purif was down there too. But I would be by myself, and doors would slam, and I would hear people walking in the hallway to the sauna.
Get the fuck out!
I'm not kidding. Like
I believe you. I believe you.
There's a staircase that goes up to the door to the basement, and I was on the staircase by myself. And it was a day that my older brother used to fuck with me. I knew, but that doesn't explain when he wasn't there who did it. Because the adults weren't fucking doing that to me unless they were like mental. I was on the staircase, like 6 steps down from the top where the door is, playing, and the door fucking slams. And I run up there and nobody's there. And in the bathroom, like one of the bathrooms, like the way back bathroom, you could feel it. It was like not happy energy because it was an old like now I want to say plantation, but they had a lot of like slave help. You know what it's not fucking help. They had slaves and shit there. And it was so old. They still had the original buzzers where people would call down from the basement to get the slaves to come up to them. Yeah. So it was the vibes were not it.
Did anybody else pick up on the hauntings? Was that kind of a thing amongst other people that were sensitive to that stuff at the mission?
Yeah, like my family did. My brother remembers, my childhood friends remember it being super creepy and like the vibe being off. And I would tell myself it was L. Ron Hubbard. Like if I was by myself and I heard shit, I would tell him
coming back from Target 2 and shit, or looking over you guys?
just fucking with me. Or I'd like be pretending I would used to pretend he was my dad. Like, like it was.
What do you mean?
You know?
Did you really think it was L. Ron Hubbard?
And I would be like, yeah, like, yes.
Imagination.
I didn't believe it was, but I told myself it was because it made me feel not scared.
Totally.
But I would be like playing by myself. And I would be make-believing I'm like a teenager and this is like my apartment and stuff. And like I would hear creepy shit. I'd be like, oh my God, it's my dad. It's Ron. Ron's my dad. You know, he owns this big mansion. I was like, dude, that's what I'm saying. I was a little kid. Like I was a baby, you know.
I get it, man.
God, I was by myself. Like nobody was fucking paying attention to me, you know? Not like, and I don't mean that like I was attention deprived because my mom, again, wonderful, but fuck, I was not, you know.
I feel you, Trinity. You know, that's the way a lot of us kids were raised in Scientology or any cult. I was just thinking of the Children of God. I just watched a documentary on it before we went live here. Same thing. But you know what's interesting? I notice it in you and other people. There seems to be a maturity and intelligence that, like, we're dumbed down from the outside world to a large degree because we're in a bubble of nomenclature and psychobabble. But because you have to grow up fast, you had to take care of your kids. You got exposed to an environment where you're on your own and you have to, you know, when you're not supposed to be, when you need guidance. So in a certain way, some people, it can make you stronger because you freaking have to be to kind of survive. Otherwise, you had to be there for your brothers and shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man. I was like playing house completely by myself, cleaning
at fucking 11
babies,
and 12.
Making fucking dinner, like on the stove, cooking. Like I only almost burnt the house down one time too, and it was a microwave. Like a French fry fell under the big glass thing in the microwave, and me and my friend were like microwaving a pizza, and the French fry had been fried so many times it was like a crisp and just started catching on fire, and it was like, oh, like it was crazy. But like I run a pretty tight ship in my life now, and I have a great work ethic, and I don't like being lazy. I like to.
Do you think that's totally from Scientology, your natural personality, or can you relax, Trinity?
I don't know
now you know
it would be from.
If you have
I can try. I feel I've been like in a constant state of stress. It feels like since I was like 9 years old.
I feel
and it's not. I can try to calm down. I mean, like, I take like THC gummies and stuff. I smoke weed sometimes. Drinking doesn't make me calm down, but when I take specific like strands, like it'll make me chill out. I don't do it often, but it just makes me like happy. And I can relax when my house is like spotless, like you can run your finger on anything and there's
white
no
glove.
dust. Yes, and there's like dinner made and my kids are in bed at their bedtime and I'm showered and it's like 7:30. You know, like before we got on, my house was a disaster because I was really sick last week and my husband did the best he could. He's not as like attention to detail as I am. But it wasn't a disaster, but in my head it was a disaster.
Yeah, I understand.
So before we got on, I had like ran around, deep cleaned, my like sweat mopped, fucking vacuumed everything, bathed my baby, bathed myself, made them dinner, had them laid down, fresh sheets on all the beds. And when we got on the computer, I had literally was just scarfed down my dinner.
Wow,
and I worked all day. I worked all day.
Good for you. That's a lot of moms that aren't in cults anyways go through that. So who knows how much is like Scientology. And you know, you're fresh out, Trinity. So you know, hopefully you're being easy on yourself. Look at how freaking far you come already, and you just got out. Do you want to take us, since we told guys, you have to go listen to Trinity's actual breakdown that she did on a couple of videos on her channel. And like I said, there's a link in the description box. Please sub if you haven't, and just listen to her story, because we hit on the high points, but there's a lot more to it that we just simply don't have the time to cover. But that brings us up. That brings us up to, do you realize we've already been going for an hour and 45 minutes? And I've been so locked into this conversation. It's the first time I actually looked at the time. I'm sorry for keeping you forever. I just got glued into the freaking thing. I'll let you go here real soon.
Like I said, I don't go to sleep till between like 9 and 11 o'clock at night. Like, I don't care.
Okay, well, we're almost getting there. Sorry, Trinity. I just got caught up, but I'll try to lead us out here. Okay.
Yeah.
I like talking to you, man. Do you want to tell people?
I'll fucking do it again.
Fucking A, we can do a part 2 there or something. Awesome.
Hell yeah.
Do you want to possibly talk about how you actually got out when you became disaffected, and then kind of where you stand today, you know, because that's relatively recent when this shit happened.
So, like, after all of us being broke, my husband had like a day job while he was still on staff, and they were telling him to like cut his hours at the job that was like feeding us so he can produce and not get paid. Like, after a bunch of like red flags started happening, and I was in the middle of, my husband routed out and he had gone to Virginia briefly to work with his brother, and I was still like living at my uncle's house, and I was in the middle of my security check getting guilt tripped by every angle to like how well I was doing. And like my uncle and shit didn't know I was like, I think he felt like I was finna like route out, but he didn't know that I couldn't tell him. Right. So.
And you looked up to him too, right, Trinity, at this point? He was the one that you said was keeping the family together, and he was so freaking proud. He just like, my parents
Apparently I fucking was. But he like, it meant a lot coming from him, because he was like up there. You know what I'm saying? Like the big
Same with my dad telling me he was proud of me when I finally joined the church. Yeah.
Oh my God, yeah. So just like on my sec check, I was a pretty laid back person. During this period and during the time on my staff, like a year and a half, I had gained so much weight. I did not look at all. Like, if you go look at my old videos, I don't look like me. I don't look happy. You could tell it. And I looked like shit. And I felt like I had aged myself 10 years because I was so stressed, because I had all this bottled in that I couldn't just like explode and tell everybody. So I was being a piece of shit. Like, I was picking fights and not even realizing, which some of them were valid, a lot of them weren't. But I was just picking fights with my whole family, and mine and my husband's relationship was strained because he wanted to leave and I didn't. So I was in the middle of routing out, and I was on my sec check, and I kept telling him every time we would get in the fucking sec check, I would be on the hands. I don't want to do this. I think you guys are forcing me to do something I don't want to do. I didn't agree to this. If I would have known when I signed my staff contract, this is what I'd have to fucking do to get out. Even if I wasn't like cutting my staff contract short, even if I just finished it and didn't want to re-sign, if I had known this is what I was going to have to do, I wouldn't have done it. And I kept saying, if I had known this shit when you recruited me, I would not have signed. I don't want to do this. You guys are forcing me to do this. You're forcing me to not be allowed to be upset with somebody because they did something fucked up to me.
Right.
And you're trying to make me search for a past incident, like a missed withhold from like a fucking past life.
When
or
they
now,
fucked
like they
up.
didn't try, they didn't never, I didn't feel like I was being directed into past life shit, but just like in general, like, did they miss your withhold? No, they didn't miss my withhold. They just did something mean to me. Like, what do you?
And
can
you
they
guys
not
lied.
not
You
me?
brought me here under false pretenses,
Dude,
and
I
rather
mean,
than
just
take
in
responsibility
general-
like they could,
In general,
they
my
have
aunt
you
had did
go look for
something that
past lives.
upset me because my aunt did something that upset me and I felt like was wrong. And when I was doing my rudes, it came up, and I was like, and he was like, "Did she miss your withhold?" Like going back and trying to make it a thing, and I said,
"Oh, that red Trinity, that right there." And
yeah,
you're like,
yeah. And
wait a minute.
he kept showing me policies where Ron said
Oh,
that
Lord.
it's a missed withhold, and you have a similar. What's it called?
Earlier, similar, or whatever.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah. And I would read it, and he's like, "Do you understand? I understand. Do you agree? No. I think my aunt was just being a bitch. Can
There
you
you go.
agree for the sake of this session?" I said, "Yeah, I can agree for the
Wow.
sake of this session. I don't want to be doing this."
Wow.
And it was this guy was like a total fucking creep. I felt like he kept directing the conversation
To sex.
to talking about me and my sex life, but not just my sex life, but me as a teenager.
Yep,
And my
probably a pedophile.
promiscuity is me as a teenager. That's what I'm saying. He wasn't even allowed to go to Flag. He was one of the richest fucking people there, one of the biggest donors at Tampa, and was one of the top auditors, because you can only, certain auditors are qualified to do sec checks, and he was one of the only fucking ones that could do it. He was not allowed to step foot on Flag. Why? And I always had that question, because you're a
that's
fucking
a hell of a
pedophile,
question.
aren't you? And again,
Holy
that's me
shit.
speculating.
That's a pretty good speculation,
but he's
Trinity.
the fucking, I got that vibe. And he, like, on 3 different times, I would try to take the conversation away from my sex life. But anytime I talk about, like, sending nudes, different promiscuous things I did as a teenager, an underage teenager with grown men that shouldn't have been fucking doing it with me, he kept trying to talk about it. And I'm like, stop. And I would tell him I'm uncomfortable. And he kept directing it. And he just kept happening. And then that I was going through that, and then I was having to do that, and then like leave my kid in the morning, do that, come back to the house for a couple hours, see my kid, then leave my fucking kid and go back to post. Then Thanksgiving happened. A couple days after Thanksgiving, me and my cousin, the one that does, the Scientologist that doesn't talk to me anymore, got into a physical altercation. Physical, and I'm 21 and she's 16, maybe 17. Not okay, but the emotion and the anger and like all of it led up to that. She did something that was fucked up, and then me already being on high alert, I'm like, oh, you're fucking bit, you know what I mean? Like it got physical, and that never got to that. And then I think barely a week after that, I kept having a problem with my tire, so I just decided one day for the fuck of it, we were gonna spend the money to get the tire fixed. And then we came back to my uncle's house, and my husband and daughter were asleep on the couch, and I'm sitting there like in tears because I don't want to go to post. It's like 5:30. It's the time I'm supposed to leave to make it to the org on time for muster. And I cannot bring myself to do it. I didn't text anybody. I just woke up my husband and told him we're leaving. I don't know what overcame me. Because my brother had been trying, my brother was telling me, just leave and then come back and do your routing form. That's what I was going to do. I would have done that. If they would have just let me leave, I would have come back on the weekends with my mom when she was doing her SRD to do my routing form. If they would have just let me go. They wouldn't let me go because I was a high producing staff member who was bringing all this fucking people. You know, so.
Oh my God,
Trinity. Could not, I can't even explain what snapped. I just couldn't fucking do it. And I didn't even think about it. I just started loading up my car, and then I was like, oh, let me wake up Pete. And I woke up my husband. I said, we're going to Jacksonville. He said, okay. And he was like,
oh shit,
happy.
he was ready.
Jumped up and started loading all the shit in my SUV. We didn't have a lot of shit. And I told my uncle was sitting poor, we were going forth. What are you doing? I said, I'm going back to Jacksonville. And he said, does Miranda know who's the ethics officer? I said, yeah, she knows. Like, I lied to him. And I was like, it's all fine. Like, I'm going to come back on the weekends with mom and do what I got to do. My grandpa was asleep. I didn't even say bye to my grandpa.
Wow.
And my aunt, we left, and then my aunt came home from work and was like, you aren't even going to say bye to me. So I turned around. We were like 5 minutes down the road. I turned around. We said bye. And when I left, I was like, everything is good. I talked to who I need to talk, Alexis and Miranda, the chaplain, the ethics officer. I'm going to go to Chaz's. We're going to get situated. I have a job. I'm leaving because I have a job lined up.
Yeah,
and they're going to let me finish my routing contract. You know, like at this point, I was like, fuck it. I'm just going to tell them I'm getting off. And they're like, my uncle knew I was full of shit. And my cousin,
I was
my
just
aunt,
going to ask
knew.
you that.
He did, because he was like, like looking
Did
at
that
me,
make
like,
you
you
feel
know, like,
super disappointed and almost get pulled right back right there,
yes,
Trinity?
yes. But I had
Just that
already had my
fucking
car
guilt?
loaded, and my husband was like,
Wow,
"Yeah, like
that's
let's fucking go." And I told my
wow,
kid, "We're going to see
man.
grandma." And the whole way home, I called my brother and told him what I was doing. He was like, "Holy shit, you
You're
left!" And
in
I was like,
deep shit
"Yeah."
too.
And he was like, "All right, when are you gonna be at my house?" And I told him the ETA, and he was like, "Okay, call me if your car breaks down," because we had a shitty SUV. And I was like, "Okay." And then
Fucking
I
A.
called
That's
my
real
mom, and like, you
family.
both were like, "So are you sure? Are you good?" And I'm like, "Everything's good. Everything's fine."
Wasn't your
And it
heart
wasn't fine.
palpitating? Weren't you scared
Yes,
doing
because the
that?
whole
Because
time
you
I thought I was gonna
blew.
wreck my car and kill my whole family.
Yeah, because you pulled it in because you did
Yes,
something evil.
yes, I
Fucking
thought
A,
that my
man.
entire
God
family
damn
was
it.
I was about to kill my family, but at that point, and I truly believe that,
Wow.
but this is how
Yeah.
desperate I was. At that point, I would have rather have been dead so it wouldn't be my problem anymore.
I totally
Isn't that fucked
understand.
up? Like, I literally rather, and I remember whenever I was at my peak of being suicidal and I was begging the ethics officer to like help me and telling her, "Don't tell anybody because I don't want people to think I'm a bad mom and get my kid taken away."
Right.
I didn't want to leave my kid. It had nothing,
Right.
and that's the only reason why I didn't fold is because of my daughter. Had I not been a mother, and maybe not because like I'm really close to like my brother's kid, my niece. So maybe not, even if I didn't have my daughter, like I would have maybe considered, you know what I mean? But I thought that something horrible was going to happen and I was going to kill or injure my whole family on the way back, or something bad was going to happen. And I would rather have been dead. I mean, because if I would have died, it wouldn't be my fucking problem. I mean, hopefully it wouldn't have been my problem, and I wouldn't just be hovering watching what I just did.
Right.
No one knows, you know what I mean?
Right.
But we get to Jacksonville, and I'm at my brother's house, and I'm sleeping on a fucking air mattress, and I sleep so good.
I bet.
And then we
man.
immediately go to the storage unit that had all my shit in it, and got my fucking bed, and moved into a spare room, and started my job in January. And I had already started like looking online and stuff. And I didn't, again, if they had just left me alone, I would have come back and handled it. I would have come back and did my routing off form if they would have just left me alone.
Yeah.
If they would have just let me come home. They got so offended when I called Jacksonville home. But this, like, I live like in the outskirts of like it's generally Jacksonville, but like around like the Jacksonville area. You know what I mean? Oh, sorry. One sec. Can you hear me?
Yeah, perfect.
Okay. This is the only place in my entire life that I have felt like home. Like, this is home. Where I'm at currently, this is fucking home. I'm within 20 minutes of all my fucking siblings and my mom and my best friend. Well, my best friend lives in Virginia. Well, you know what I'm saying? Like, most of my support system. So, and they would get mad at me for calling this home. Like, not mad, but like offended. I'm like, I don't know what to tell you, dude. I was brutally bullied in Mississippi. Like, and I'm here and people love me and they like me and want to be
And I'm around family and I don't have Scientology in my life.
where I can't even breathe a certain way, or you guys are going to write a God KR on me.
Oh
I
my
can't
God.
joke. I can't be myself. I was such like a shell of who I was because I'm a very deep person. I like
outgoing,
I
and I
kind of
bet you
fucked up
were
jokes and shit. And I couldn't be myself.
I understand.
And I got made wrong. I remember telling them I wanted another kid and being told you should go clear first. You should go clear before you have another kid. You should read what Ron says about child. Oh my God. But I got pregnant when my husband got back from Virginia. When I was still in Tampa, I didn't know about it until January. And then February 1st, I found out I was having a really rare pregnancy called a molar pregnancy. And I was at the hospital with my mom and I was begging her, don't tell uncle, grandpa, his wife, because they're going to think I did this. They're going to think this is my payback. This is like what I pulled in. Because my uncle had sent me a text a few days after I got back to Jacksonville saying, you blew from staff. You lied to me. You didn't talk to Miranda. What's okay about that? And I didn't respond to him. So already, like, you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So I felt like laying in bed, like after I calmed down and I was like, because I had to get admitted to the hospital because I had to get a DNC. I had to get that shit out of me before it turned like ASAP, because it was at the point where it was going to it could have turned into uterus cancer or hormone cancer. It was a tumor growing at like a full molar, a complete molar, not a partial molar is like a fetus with the molar tumor on it. Thankfully, I just had a tumor. And it wasn't.
And did
like
you
a
think you
baby.
pulled this in? Did you think you were just proving your uncle right?
As it was happening, as I was in the fucking triage and the doctor came and sat down and was like comforting me, telling me what was happening, I was sobbing. Like my husband was on his way to the hospital. I was like sobbing to my mom, saying they're going to think I did this. They're going to think I killed my fucking baby. Like all this shit. After I calmed down, I didn't think that anymore, but I had cried so hard. I had such a bad headache. I felt like I was going to die. I got the DNC. My birthday, my 23rd birthday was a few days after that. And I was by my fucking self on this porch, having just lost my pregnancy. And I'm like, oh my God. Like
God.
You know, I'm like, my uncle hates me. So it was, I got like, eventually I got furloughed because of COVID. And then I got pregnant again. I wasn't supposed to get pregnant again. I didn't know that and I didn't mean to, but I got pregnant again.
Mhm.
Thankfully, I was pregnant and it wasn't cancer because I kept having to get blood work done to make sure it wasn't hormone cancer. And then I moved into my apartment and I got a job working at Waffle House while I was pregnant and put my kid in daycare. And then things just, you know, I was still getting harassed by people from the church to come do like my comm ev and shit.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't do it because I was like, I was scared now that y'all are going to stress me out to where I miscarry this fucking baby.
No shit.
Like my mom literally had to get on to like call one of the chaplain or the ethics officer and say, she's pregnant. She just had a miscarriage. She's pregnant again. You were stressing her out.
Yeah.
If you cause my daughter to lose another one of my grandkids, we're going to have serious fucking problems because stress, I don't know if you know, but high stress, it can cause miscarriages.
Absolutely.
In general.
Yeah.
And that was I was high risk because of issues I had with my oldest daughter.
Mhm.
Then I had that happen. So I'm super high risk and I was super overweight. You're high risk depending on your BMI. And I was over fucking weight. I couldn't barely breathe, dude. And I was pregnant on top of it. And I was partying a whole lot when I first got back before I knew I was pregnant because I was like, oh my God, I'm going to smoke weed for the first time in 6 years.
Yeah, thank God.
Calm the hell down.
Yes.
But then I was like, oh, now I'm
Jesus,
pregnant and now I can't
Trinity.
fucking do anything. So then I was just like
Wow.
living in it. And then a
Fuck
bunch
me.
of other shit happened in my family that caused even more stress. So towards the end of 2020, I was so depressed. And I had my daughter and all I remember from my daughter being a newborn is like not sleeping and being so emotional that I would literally just sit there and looking at her all night, like sobbing or cleaning my whole house. I did not sleep for months. I don't remember her being a newborn. I look at pictures of her and I can't even remember it.
Really?
Because I was so
trauma.
Yeah. I was so fucked up. But I mean, it wasn't just the Scientology shit, but other things I had going on. And then the molar pregnancy really fucked me up. But then so what was that? 2021, we had re-signed. We had lived in a really tiny studio apartment that we couldn't really fit in, but we didn't have much of a choice because I had re-signed my lease. So I didn't have money to break it. Then we got like our tax return, we got those stimulus checks, and I got my settlement check. So we broke the lease, got into the place that we're in now, got a car. We had 2 cars. You know, we got ourselves stable. I paid my insurance premium on both fucking vehicles. Like I got myself stable.
And
so
you didn't pay a
2020
freeloader's debt, God damn it, right?
Hell no, they ain't getting none of my fucking
Amen.
money. I don't want to go. I don't want to fucking go. Like y'all can keep it. I'll fucking die in hell, I guess. Fuck my soul. I'll worry about that in my next life. You know what I mean?
Your
like
soul's
if there
going to
is a
be
next life,
fine by getting away from the devil's church.
Yeah, like the way
Scientology.
I see it is like, even if there is like next lives and this comes back to bite me in the ass, that's a problem for not me, like not who I am now.
Not
So
only
why the fuck do
that,
I care?
Trinity, you'll have it sorted. Like that's what I had a nightmare. I kept having nightmares about what it was going to be like when my parents passed, if they still believe in Scientology. And that's what motivated me to go through all the trauma to get this out of my head and lose everything. Because I was like, if I die in this world still believing in this man, or I don't find out what happened to me, I always felt like I was going to be screwed somehow.
I mean, you're screwing yourself. I feel like when people are in cults or like locked into a certain belief system, you're screwing yourselves in the sense that you're not able to fully experience life.
And you're not being yourself.
And for the first fucking time in my entire, I am 26. From 2021 until now, for the first time in my life, I have a fucking voice. I can communicate now without blowing up and being crazy and having anger issues. I have traveled. I've gone to fucking the fair every fucking year with my kids. I have like a life. And even I'm in a very stressful situation now. You know why? Even in this high stress situation, I was just sick and out of work for a week. I'm not like, I'm stressed. I'm cool.
Compared to Scientology, you can take on anything after this.
Hell yeah. Yeah, shit's a little fucking crazy right now, but guess what? I got a house. All my bills are paid. Got a fucking fridge full of food. And if I want to dump my kids on my mom tomorrow and go out and do whatever the fuck I want with my husband, I can fucking do that.
You got
I can do
freedom.
whatever
I
the
know
fuck
what
I
you're
want.
talking about.
So that's where I'm at right now. Like,
Fucking
it
A,
sucks,
man.
and I miss
Well
my family, and I love them, and I secretly hope that at least my cousin is watching this, and if you are, I will pick up the phone any fucking time any one of them call me. If anything happens with my grandpa, I'm going to be there. If anything happens with any of them, I'm going to show up. No matter, even if we're at a family function next week and my uncle's there, I'm going to say hey to him. And even if he doesn't speak to me and it makes me look like an idiot, so fucking be it. So fucking be it. We can, like, I know how to push his buttons. I can make you speak to me, motherfucker. We'll be screaming, but I can make it happen if I want it. You know what I mean? Like, I have a good fucking life. I'm not codependent on my family anymore.
Hey,
Not
that's
like I
so
love my
proud of you.
family,
That's
but
so
I have my
fucking A,
family
Trinity.
because
That's
I want my
awesome.
family, not because I have to, or I'm gonna die if I don't have my brother or my mom. I have them because I love them very much and I enjoy having them in my lives. And at times that I don't enjoy their company or I don't enjoy the communication I'm getting from them, I just kind of like keep to myself. Text everyone, love you, not dead. You know what I mean? It doesn't happen often, but you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
and every time I do something cool, I go to Virginia every year to visit my grandmother, my husband's family, and my aunt and her husband, like my uncle and shit, all my cousins. And every time I travel, every time I go to the fair, every time I do something new or exciting that's outside the norm of my life, I always think, if I was still a Scientologist, I wouldn't be doing this. If I was still a Scientologist, I wouldn't go to Virginia every year to see my fucking grandmother and my family. Nobody in my immediate family has ever gone to Virginia to see what the life that my aunt has created for herself. Every fucking year since 2020, my husband, me, and my kids have gone to Virginia, and I see my cousins, and I see the beautiful life that her and my uncle have created for themselves. None of my family have done that for her. And I do it every year. And guess what? Now, because I've done that, the strained relationship she had with my mom, they're both healing and they talk. My mom and my aunt are healing and they're open.
That's
and
awesome.
They heal with me and we heal together. And they come to visit now. They come now because my whole life she would have to come visit with all her kids and make it go right. And then she quit because nobody was making it go right for her. Now, since I show the initiative, she comes here. And we swap and we go see each other's lives. And the most beautiful thing is that her and my mom talk again. They didn't talk for 20 years. They hate each other's fucking guts. But with me going and me slowly planting the seeds and like, you know, I mean, I'm not taking full responsibility for it, but I take some responsibility for it because it's always hurt me that they weren't close.
Yeah.
Now my aunt was just here recently and her and my mom sat on my back porch while I went to sleep and yapped for hours together by themselves.
Is beautiful.
That is unheard of. You know, I have like I'm sorry, I'm ranting. I have a great fucking life. My life's awesome. I love my life.
I want to give you a freaking virtual hug.
So if anybody is watching this hoping for my downfall, it's not fucking happening.
And you know what's so cool about you? You were the one. I'm just getting to know you, Trinity. We talked, you know, for a while or whatever. You have such a sweet, strong personality. You know, it seems like you're kind of the one that was like destined to take care of the brothers, you know, and have this responsibility thrust on you in a really shitty way. But and that's also the reason why Scientology wanted you the most, because they want to take the able and make them more able. And then look at you, you're also the catalyst to you're the first one. You're 26 and you fucking broke away from this incredible mind control cult that even our adult parents couldn't necessarily figure out. So and then you have a wonderful life, and now you're also might be responsible for bringing the impossible together and maybe healing the family a little. I just freaking love you, man. I'm so happy that you survived. And you're here.
Thanks.
Because like I said, friends, if you want to know more about the story, it's really intense. The fact that she is here talking to us right now, she's a very, very strong, intelligent person. I just adore you, man.
Thanks. You're great too. I think the conversations we've had before we did this, it's very therapeutic for me because again, like my husband was in it for me, but like me and my siblings don't really talk about it. Me and my mom don't really talk about it. Me and my aunt kind of talk about it, but we kind of, you know, like I don't like to shove it down their throats. My friends are very supportive and people around me, like it's a great icebreaker when I meet somebody like, oh my God, I was raised in Scientology. Ask me anything because I love talking about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, nice.
But talking to like people from this community who have like been in the shit and can get it, you know what I mean? It's It's very therapeutic, and I know I ramble a lot. Like,
no, you don't.
I'm an open book for the most part. There's some things I stay mysterious on, but for the most part, I also like to talk. I like to hear myself talk sometimes too.
I love to hear you talk, man, and you should do more talking. That's a perfect way to segue out of here, because Trinity is now you're not going to do exclusively Scientology content.
No.
I might be going down your route too. You got some true crime stuff and all that.
Yeah.
Do you want, are you going to do some stuff on Scientology, Trinity? Because you have a lot to speak on that I think could help people out.
I have so a couple of video ideas I have that are Scientology.
Mm-hmm.
I really like to expose shit, and I think
Me and
that
you gotta do
because
future
of
videos.
I think because of the audience, I've gained a lot of audience from doing the Scientology stuff, but the people that were already there were there because I would do kind of like video essays and stuff on things that I found interesting. But it's just like I want to introduce that audience to the shit. Like more people need to know about the shit that's happening in Scientology. More people need to know about what a piece of shit David Miscavige is. More people need to understand the extent to which Scientology covered up Danny Masterson sexually assaulting
And that's
people.
just the tip of the iceberg. You
My
mentioned it earlier,
my
Trinity, the
husband's family
pedophilia.
didn't even know.
Yeah.
So many people don't even know the motherfucker's a Scientologist. They don't understand it. I didn't even know he was a Scientologist. I remember being on staff and watching The Ranch and finding out it was getting canceled because of this. I didn't know he was a Scientologist until after. So like somebody asked a question last night, how does Scientology report on the crimes? And I don't know if you mean like report to their members on the crimes or the public. They try not to speak publicly at all. We don't know. The Scientologists are completely not aware of the shit that's going down in the real world with Scientology and the crimes that are being committed and the people being abused. You have no idea. Because you're so loyal, you won't even type in the fucking search bar of Scientology. You won't do it. You see it in the tabloids, it'll catch your eye. And you'll get yourself in trouble mentally and look away. So the answer to the question, they don't have to worry about that because they know they got everybody so fucking brainwashed that nobody's going to question the shit. And then the people that do question the shit, they get them in trouble and make them shut up and make them drink it again. Or they deflect and they convince everybody else that they're just crazy. Like my friends think I'm a crazy bitch right now.
I know, but you're not, and you have a whole
church.
community that know. As long as you know that, and your kids, you know what, Trinity, this is what's so freaking great. You broke the cycle, man. This is what you're not gonna raise your freaking kids in Scientology.
Hell no. And none of my nieces and nephews,
because of what you did
over my dead fucking body, are my kids or any of my nieces and nephews. They're not my kids, but they're my kids, and absolutely not. And all of these children will be going to school and they will be finishing school. They will get medical attention as needed. If they need therapy or anything of the sort, my kids are going. I'm going to be the voice for my nieces and nephews if they need the help. And it's just like, and I mean that as long as I'm doing this, it's going to be very, very unlikely that any of my siblings or my mom go back to it because they're not going to ditch me. So as long as I'm doing this, they can't go back to it the way that to get them brainwashed. You know what I'm saying? So they're safe and their new spouses are safe and their kids are safe. My brothers are great and they don't hurt their kids. But you see what I'm saying? Like I'm preventing it from leaking over. So
you have prevented a lot of things, man. I feel like you were the catalyst for I know you're not taking credit and you have a whole family. I'm just telling you, I can tell you're a very strong personality and I can definitely see why Scientology would love your bubbling, exuberant, outgoing theta. And that's why those are the people that can get trapped in and often have to be the rock for everybody else, Trinity.
God. You know what? They shouldn't have made me mad. They pissed me the fuck off. This would not be happening. I would have routed off and I would still be a Scientologist if they would have just chilled.
I know.
Like, that's fucking crazy. Like, y'all did this. Because I know
thank you that they did this because we're out. We wouldn't be out, Trinity. I had the same fucking dedicated Kool-Aid drinking. They had to do everything wrong to get me to fucking start, whatever, because I believed in that. So thank God in a weird way that they did that because now
their biggest enemies. They create all the problems they have. They create for themselves because they make people mad.
Been said a million times.
People.
They can't help it though. The very mind
God.
control and Truman Show demands that they always shoot themselves in the
You
freaking
know,
butt.
my whole family, we all have strong personalities and shit. And we, like,
Mhm.
especially me and my brothers, we would run around the org, like, as adults and shit doing this. They
Mhm.
would try so, because my older brother and my other little brother would, like, sign up for staff and then not go and, like, blow and shit like that. And they would try to get him in and get him in trouble. And they would just laugh at him, like, what are you going to do? Like, what are you going to do? Like, they would get so
Nice.
mad. They would try to force my 2 youngest brothers to be on
Wow.
course. And they would leave and go run around and break into like abandoned buildings and e-board and shit and skateboard the entire time it was production
Awesome.
hours. And they would get so mad that
Awesome.
they couldn't control like me and my
Nice.
like they could me, but they could only control me because I was in that shit mainly for my uncle and for the sake of like
Yeah.
keeping a relationship with them.
And you
My
cared
brothers
too.
though, they ain't giving my brothers 2 people came to my fucking brother's house when we lived there to reg him to get back on course, and he made them cry. He was like, I told y'all not to show up at my fucking house. I'm only talking to this person. Y'all
Amen.
want to talk to me? This motherfucker better call me. Like, yelled at them, and nobody ever came back to our house again. And then when I came
Nope.
back
Oh,
to
that's awesome.
Jacksonville to his house and they were threatening to come like talk to me, to come handle me, to convince me to come back, my brother was like told like my mom to tell them that if any one of them motherfuckers show up at his house where his wife and kids live, that there's gonna be big fucking problems and he ain't even gonna bother calling the fucking cops. And that's how I was. Like one time
Wow.
there was a knock at the door and I was home alone with my daughter, and I thought, because there wasn't a peephole and there was a lot of rumor, like I kept hearing shit about them trying to show up to like get me
Yeah.
back. I
Yeah.
locked my daughter in the room and I answered that
Wow.
bitch with a fucking kitchen knife, like ready to like,
Holy
you know, like
shit. I
that sounds
fucking feel
crazy,
you.
but at the
No,
same
it does
fucking time,
not.
when you're like your home is being, I feel like it was being harassed and threatened, and it's not even my
And you
house.
were.
My brother took me in, so now you're gonna harass me at his safe space for his fucking kids? Hell no, y'all gonna have to send me to jail, but they're not gonna call the cops. Like they don't call the fucking cops. Like that's, you know what I mean?
I do. And that wasn't an unreasonable reaction,
crazy.
Trinity, because I threatened to, again, I'm not encouraging anybody to do this, but I threatened to kill my parents and then blow up a building and then take myself out. I just wanted to get, the only reason I share that, because I can relate to the anger and the sense of feeling terrorized by these people. That very, they do intimidate you and they do show up at your house. It's almost impossible to get out of this freaking thing. So you're not, you know, being paranoid. You're just there, and they push you to your breaking point too, where you don't know what, you kind of lose your fucking mind. So I would have walked up there with a kitchen knife too. I'm surprised people don't do a lot worse. Again, I'm not encouraging
Dude, and
anybody, but
I'm
the
still
anger.
like scared that like PIs or people might start trying to fuck with me and harass me and stuff.
You got a
Which I
community
don't
that
know
will
if that
protect
really
you.
happens right now. I mean, I need a community, and it's great to have one. But honestly, if some weird shit was happening, I would just start going live on Facebook, YouTube, or TikTok.
Exactly.
And
That's
I would just
exactly
go
what you should
crazy.
do.
I wouldn't touch nobody unless I was touched first, but I would, like, I'm not scared. It would piss me off because like if they follow me home or some shit like that because my kids are here, or if they harass me at like my job or whatever. So that's I'm a little worried about that, like harassment. But I can handle myself. Like I'll figure it the fuck out.
Just on that real quick, Trinity, one, you have a huge community. The other day, Degraded Daughters, they supposedly got followed by a PI here in Los Angeles, and Jeffrey Augustine and Alex were on it right away to expose it, put it up the same day, and they're not backing down. So I'm just saying the community, not least because, you know, Aaron kicked some serious ass. If you ever need any help, I mean, you look like you can handle yourself, but you know, you have a huge community and a bunch of friends now that will absolutely support you if you ever need any backup or anything. But I don't think I don't think that that'll happen. Trinity, hopefully not. I think they're too busy, but you know, you never know. You're a fiery one, man. So if you keep, you know, being you, wear it as a badge of honor and use it for content. If the squirrel busters show up at your house,
that's what I'm saying. All I can think is like if they start fucking with me and I go live, imagine the engagement I'm finna get on that. And then people also like, people don't believe me when I say that like no, Scientology like harasses and stalks people. So anybody that's like, yo, no, it's not that bad, I'm be like, look at this.
I hope they don't do that to you, so you have to prove them wrong.
Either.
And I think that's changed. It's changing, but absolutely they still do that.
Like I'm not scared, but it's a scary idea just because I have kids.
No
like
shit.
if I didn't have kids, I'd be a lot more like unhinged than I am. But like they get affected by every decision I make, which is also another reason why it was like my content about it was kind of like sporadic at first because again,
it was
I had a babysitter. I don't have a babysitter anymore, but I'm like, I would be scared. What if they follow me to my babysitter's house and then
Yeah.
they start harassing this sweet woman who loves
Yeah.
my, you know what I mean? Just for
I
being
know
attached.
what you
So
mean, man.
that
Don't
shit-
think
sorry,
too
I'm
much about that.
rambling.
No, you're not, Trinity. These are valid points you bring up. Just keep being yourself, man. And then I look forward to seeing what you come out with next. And also, I'm really happy that, you got on Aaron's, and I just really appreciate you coming on and let me talk to you, because I just
Hell
adore
yeah.
you, and I'm looking forward to see what
Thanks.
you do now that you're freaking free and
I'm
you
so
have a life,
excited
man.
that we're friends, dude. Because I
Me
remember
too, man.
watching
I
like
want-
your videos like a few years ago and be like, this dude's fucking cool. This dude's cool. I'm
God,
so
you're gonna
glad.
make
And
me
like
blush.
Aaron's like cool. Like y'all are so fucking cool. And I looked up to you guys because I'm like, they can do it. You can do it. And they've had it way worse than you. You know what I'm saying? So you guys are so fucking cool.
That's not
and
true,
I'm
though.
so glad we're
That's-
friends.
Thank you.
I know I belittle
not-
like my experiences. Like,
I
don't
know,
mind
but
me.
I know. I won't get on you about that. But you've been through fucking hell and back, and you came out. You're young, and I'm just so happy you're free, and you're just such a wonderful personality, man. I freaking love you.
Thank you. Well, let's do it again. Let me know when.
Absolutely, especially
Cool.
Trinity. We might be able to do some other stuff in terms of the other ideas you have, because that's the rabbit holes I like to go down too.
Yes. Yeah, man.
We will
Also, I just
definitely.
want to say, like, my content isn't primarily Scientology. And again, I don't do this as a job. This is like a hobby. It's fun for me, and I won't do it unless I'm interested in something and I want to do it. So again, like, if you're looking for super regular content and stuff, you're probably not going to get it right now because I have a very physically demanding job. However, there are a lot of things like I like to talk about, like, I want to talk more about like our food supply and how it's so corrupt and like dangerous, and just different like cute little quirky things about like, society and how we're all kind of like brainwashed from the government.
Yes,
just
and
stuff,
on,
like,
but
cool
on
stuff,
that,
like, and scary stuff.
on that, one of the other videos, I'm not going to say because I want people to go over and check out your content, but let's just say one of them, and then several. You hooked me on one of them. I think it was a predictive programming video, but you talk about the kind of shit that I like to get into.
Yeah,
It's brilliant, Trinity, and you should do more of those because they're funny,
so
and
proud
you're
of that
also hitting
video.
on. That was an awesome video. I just like the direction that you're going, because I try to use Scientology as a microcosm of what's happening on the macrocosm. Because we can
Yeah.
get rid of Scientology, but what about? I mean, didn't we get into Scientology to save the planet, Trinity? We need
Yeah.
big star high goal.
Yeah, it's like all of you guys are here because you want to take down Scientology and you're interested in our experiences and shit. All right. Well, I implore you to go take a look at where all your groceries are coming from and figure out what they're putting in the water. Like, I'm just
Yeah,
saying,
you should do video. You
Scientology
should do
brainwashed
videos.
you, but as a society, we live in a society.
Exactly. It's one cult to rule them all. And like when I got out, a lot of people get out of Scientology and they just go back to the normie world and vote and believe in all this bullshit. But yeah, once I got out of Scientology and I learned this shit, Trinity, like you can't help but like have your eyes open to the bigger scale.
Yeah.
This is the perfect point to end off with our
All
Lord and
right.
Savior Trinity, our founder. Guys, thank you so much for a lovely chat and just a great conversation. And we're going to leave
Yeah.
you with some amazing words from L. Ron Hubbard. Until the next one,
Hell
my friends, take care. Bye, Trinity.
Bye. Thank you.
Now here is L. Ron Hubbard.
And you find in each and every case, you're finding the phenomenon of entities, communications, spaceships, other planets, locations, beingness in other states, and all of this, and you find this to be a consistent condition. You have fulfilled this definition of the mesh universe.